Tuesday edition, now Wednesday edition, as we trudge our way through the week. But today is a new day. It's kind of like a Monday, because today, for those who didn't know, is the first day of the new year in the NFL. So right there, we got something to think about. Today is the first day of the new year of the NFL. So it's kind of like a Monday. Kind of like a Monday. You're into the NFL thing. But nevertheless, you've got all the deals can be inked now. Everything can become official in the NFL. So now we just kind of wait and see where else the chips may fall as the NFL continues to spin. In the world, because the NFL, as we all know, has always been and seems to be this kind of a soap opera type of thing. So as the NFL spins, as it goes around, yeah, there you have it. But I love it. We love it. We can't get enough of it. Damn straight. Love it. Sad news. I'm going to stop that. Sad news. Junior Bridgeman passed away. Junior Bridgeman, the odd thing was, I had just seen, I don't know how many days ago this was, but I had just seen that he had been kind of officially dubbed as a billionaire. And for those that didn't know, Junior Bridgeman owns restaurants and properties like everywhere and has a ton of Wendy's franchises and such, and just had grown his property wealth into this mass management of just great stuff. I mean, he was such a smart guy, and I've had some great interactions with Junior Bridgeman over the years. But sad to see that he passed away. He had basically a heart attack in Louisville, Kentucky, and ended up passing away. So sad news, man. 71 years old. 71. He was at an event and just kind of felt it. And next thing you know, he's gone. And it was like, wow. You can't ever say at a heart attack event you see that coming, but didn't see that coming. It wasn't like he had seen poor health or anything. He still looked good, talked well, and didn't have any problems, supposedly. So, man, it's kind of a sad day in that realm, in that regard. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. If you want to find us, that's a great way to do so. Again, 877-867-1670. You can text us, 608-321-1670, 608-321-1670. And also when it comes to watching us each and every day, depending on how you want to consume us, YouTube, go to youtube.com. That is youtube.com/Bill Michaels Show, youtube.com/Bill Michaels Show. You can find us there, and please subscribe. We love all the people it doesn't cost you anything, by the way, not a penny. So if you can subscribe to us, that would be great. We'd appreciate it. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok, the Bill Michaels Show. The Bill Michaels Show. You can find us on the Twitch app, on the Kick app, on the LinkedIn app as well. You can find us on Twitter, and the link's on Twitter. Twitter X, @Bill_Michaels, @Bill_Michaels, @Wisco Grant, WISCO, @Wisco Grant. You can email the program, the Bill Michaels @gmail.com. The website, thebillmichaels.com. You can also find us after the fact on the Spotify, Apple, iTunes, Google Podcasts as well. We are on the Zone app, and I get more and more people every day that say, hey, what's the app? What's the app? WOZN, The Zone, ZONE, The Zone app out of Madison. The Zone Madison, that's our app. And then you can watch us each and every Saturday on My 24 in Milwaukee, and hopefully that'll expand as we get more towards football season. But nevertheless, we are on My 24 in Milwaukee, and we air a little bit of a funky time. Normally it's at 8 o'clock, but we're going to be bumped up this weekend. I think it's 5 or 5:30 because of the WIAA Boys and Girls High School State Basketball Championship. So there you go. Grant Bills, how are we doing today? Oh, I see you're wearing a sweatshirt.
Well, yeah, you gave me this last night when we met up right after the show. Stevens Point Brewing, I appreciate the garbage. It was the only thing that was clean in my apartment this morning. That's why I'm wearing it. But no, new sweatshirt on. I'm doing good. Interested to see. I thought we'd maybe get Aaron Rodgers news this morning or today, but as I was kind of talking about with Ebo, the report on NFL Network from Peter Schrager is it could be weeks still. He's taking his time, and the Steelers are giving him time.
Hard to fathom.
Right?
Don't you? I really do.
Rodgers, we've talked about this. Rodgers should be thrilled that the Steelers are after him. Like, that's a good spot for him. He doesn't have to go to the Giants or someone sucky, the Titans. Go sign. Jump in with both feet. Get on the team already.
I am stunned that for two reasons. One is I am stunned that the Steelers are going to wait. And I am stunned that he is going to do this again as we're now into free agency and going to make another team wait. I don't know. I mean, I get it. He's probably your best. I guess if it was a dime a dozen when it comes to quarterbacks that were out there, like whatever's left, whether it's going back to Russell Wilson, going with Aaron Rodgers and whatever you could possibly get that's still out there. But I am stunned that he is now saying, I'll let you know. I was shocked by that he decided to do that to them. I mean, what now, if he's weighing the options between the Giants and the Steelers or some other team, okay, I get it. But it doesn't take weeks to do that. If he's just saying, I don't know if I want to play, I don't know what I want to do, if it's that, I'd be like, no, ain't happening. Ain't happening. I'll talk to you later. Go find another team to play for. I can't believe he's doing it. He's doing it.
I just wonder if he's taking his time because he'd rather be in Minnesota. And he's like, I'm going to make the Vikings think long and hard for a little while about really going into the season with just JJ McCarthy.
Yeah.
Right. Like maybe he just wants to make you guys sure you don't want me over there. Because I think Rodgers wants to be in Minnesota based on some things that I heard yesterday. I texted some Vikings people and they're like, yeah, Rodgers loves the idea of coming here. It's that the Vikings don't want him.
Yeah. I can't believe that he is just sitting there putting another team through this. Yeah. Crazy. Then the Bucks last night. I got to be honest with you. I started watching the Bucks, and then I flipped over. I was watching college hoops. There was, a lot of the smaller conference tournaments are going on right now, and I just love watching that stuff. They had one last night. God, I can't remember what the conference was. They were playing in like a high school gym. I don't know if you saw that, but it looked like a high school gym. And I was like, I am fascinated. I was like intrigued by it. So I sat here last night and did work and just watched that. Then I tuned back in and I'm watching the fourth quarter of the Bucks. The whole question as to whether or not Giannis did or didn't foul Halliburton, I get it. Okay. What in the hell is Giannis doing bringing the ball up the court and taking the final shot? This is what you brought Damian Lillard in for.
They didn't even drop a play.
It was just Giannis wants the ball, giving the ball, and Giannis is going to dribble the ball and take the shot. I have no idea why Giannis insisted on getting the ball. I saw that they were trying to double team Dame, so I get it, but they didn't have anything drawn up to get him off of a screen or anything to get him the ball. And I knew that. I was on the phone with a buddy of mine. And I was kind of describing it. And he's like, oh, I'm watching it now, too, because it was obviously a national game. And we both at the same time yelled, Giannis? Really? And then you knew that shot wasn't going in. He wasn't going in. I just am so stunned at the ineptitude of this team, of this coaching staff, consistently to watch them lose games. I don't get it. I know people are criticizing. I'm watching the cheap seats and they're criticizing Damian Lillard. I don't criticize him. I watched him play on Sunday. That guy played his ass off. I was actually at the game and I watched him, whether it was grabbing a rebound, dribble drive. He ended up scoring a couple of layup buckets because of some play fakes that he had. He was hitting from the outside on a couple of different occasions. He didn't have a bad game. His defense and flat-footedness at times costs him. That I understand. But he didn't have a bad game. This team is. That's why I asked. Remember, I asked. What was it? Was it yesterday? We had Jim Ozarski on yesterday, and I said to Jim, "Let me ask you this: is Doc Rivers really the guy?" Well, he hasn't lost the locker room. I mean, that was what Jim basically said. He hasn't lost the locker room. They still believe in him. That's. There's two different questions there. There's two different questions. Has he lost the locker room? No. Okay, that's great. But is he the coach to propel this team? And I don't think he is. I never wanted Doc Rivers hired. Never thought he was that great of a coach. The only reason I think that he won with Boston was because he had guys that were just that good and wanted it that bad. But Lillard and Giannis don't work well together. Lillard acquiesces to Giannis too much. I think there's too much of a spotlight on Lillard every time he puts the ball up and he's not passing the ball to Giannis. So I don't think that marriage has really worked here that well. It's dysfunctional, for lack of a better term. It's dysfunctional. They're not winning anything. It's dysfunctional. It's just that's what I see. I see when the bench guys come in and what I call, what people call the no names. I shouldn't say I call them, but people call them the no names. You see hustle, you see heart, but you just don't see that level of ability. If you saw that level of hustle and heart out of the play of the starters and the things that they should do, fighting through screens, setting better screens, being able to try to work the ball to get guys open, work the ball quicker, be quicker, this team would be a lot better off. It's not winning anything. It's not winning anything. And that's the disappointment, because I just knew if this game was within 2 points, the Bucks weren't going to win it. And sure enough, they basically proved me right again. But just, man, what a disappointing game. And to watch them just get smoked by Cleveland on Sunday night. So, and Steve's like, well, Giannis is playing his ass off in every aspect as usual. Yeah, but Giannis is a hell of a player. But I've gotten to the point where Giannis is a show. Giannis is a show. And what do I mean by that? There's a difference between being somebody that lifts you up, everybody, and being the focus. He's the focus. He's the show. Everybody else doesn't get better because of him. They acquiesce to him. And there's a difference. I firmly believe that. Otherwise, why in the hell do you have a guy that can't hit water if he fell out of a boat from beyond three, taking a last-second shot at half court? And here's the other thing. I don't care if Dame was 1 for 7 beyond the arc last night. Who cares? That guy's hit more big game-winning shots than probably anybody on that team. And whether he's 1 for 7, 2 for 8 would have meant they won the game. It would have still been bad shooting night, but he's done more of that than anybody on that team. And you give it to the guy that can't handle the basketball, and you give it to the guy that can't shoot a three? That's crap. That's crap. You only acquiesce to Giannis because he's a star and you want to kiss his ass, and you're petrified of losing a guy. There are stars on teams that are more detrimental, and I'm not saying it's Giannis's fault, but as a leader, there should be a distribution, and there's not. And it's disappointing. Disappointing. So anyway, it's not going to happen. The Bucks they're light years away from Boston. They're even further away from Cleveland. It's not going to happen. Not going to happen. So 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. You want to find us, please feel free. Go ahead and do so. Got a lot to get to today, so don't go anywhere. Got a lot of good stuff on the docket. We're going to go ahead and take a quick break. We're going to come back. We got a lot more. Stay right where you're at. We got more of the Bill Michaels Show coming up next.
Covering Wisconsin sports like
Spend my money on whiskey and wine, but I couldn't tell you where I spent last night. I'm really sorry for the shape I'm in. I just like my fun every now and then. I'm always working, slaving every day, trying to get away from the same old, same old. I need a trip just to get away. If you can hear me think, this is what I said. Don't need nothing but a good time. How can I resist? Ain't looking for nothing but a good time, and it don't get
Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome in. Bill Michaels Show. Wednesday, but it's the new day. It's the beginning of a brand new NFL season. So I'm all excited about that. Eight 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. Give us a shout. We would love to hear from you. If you want to text us, 608-321-1670. Kind of the big news out of the day today when it comes to this Kansas City Chiefs. They restructured the contracts of quarterback Patrick Mahomes and the defensive tackle Chris Jones. And it created almost $50 million in cap space. Field Yates had that a little while ago. $50 million in cap space to restructure those deals so they can go out and continue to fortify what it is they feel they're missing. Amazing. But $50 million is what they ended up clearing up in some of that cap space for them. So holy moly. The Chiefs now rolling in a little bit of the dough. 877-867-1670. Hit us up. We'd love to hear from you. Let's see here. This is from Chris. Chris says, "Hey guys, it's a shame that Junior Bridgeman passed, and then the Bucs promptly go out and lay an egg." Yes, I get where you're going with it. Let me kind of stop you there. One has nothing to do with the other, really, other than the fact that your thoughts are with, Junior Bridgeman, and you're kind of hoping that the Bucs play a little bit better. But I'm sure the Bucs aren't sitting there, in the locker room down in Indianapolis going, "We got to win this one for Junior Bridgeman." It's kind of like on days, like when Brett was back and Bart was there and they had the hug at midfield, and, on Brett Favre, Ring of Honor retirement day, and the Packers go out and promptly lose to the Bears. You'd like to think that the guys in the locker room are thinking about those guys going, "Come on, we got to win them but that's not the way it works. It just isn't. I've been around long enough to know that that's it. If they win, that's great. And then everybody can pontificate about, the correlation between the two. But when they lose, it just doesn't happen. Doesn't happen that way. So, 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. If you want to find us, please feel free. Go ahead and do so. We would love to get you on with us. I got a couple of emails here that I want to get to because yesterday I got to as many as I could, but it just wasn't happening. So Aaron says, hey, Bill, the Bucks are 0-9 against the Celtics, Cavs, and Knicks. Who does that remind you of? A certain football team that was good, but you knew that it wasn't going anywhere because they just couldn't beat the best. I've said, if you can't beat the elite, you're not elite. Not happening. And I agree with Aaron 100%. Bucks aren't going to do anything. And I hate to be the bucket of cold water, but and we're all going to hold our breath and we're going to hope they even get out of the first round. But I don't think it really matters. Not unless, I know like Porzingis is now down in Boston and he's been down with his viral infection and whatever that is. I know that they really haven't said anything as to what is ailing him, but he's been at shoot around and he looks like he's going to be good to go. And then he's been downgraded to out, and whatever this thing is that he's got, it's kept him out now for a few weeks, but I know they're a little bit down there, but I even without Porzingis, I don't think they can beat the Celtics. I know they can't beat the Cavs. They're just not fast enough. And to do that in a series, maybe they can beat them a game, but I can't see them doing it in a series. He says, as far as Aaron Rodgers is concerned, either he wants to play for the Vikings and that's why he's taking his time, or keeping things mysterious keeps you all talking about that point each and every day. If you sign with somebody, everybody stops talking about you. I've got my money on that as to why he is taking so long. Aaron, you might be 100% correct. You really might be. You might be 100% correct. Yeah. Our buddy Steve says, good day, Bill. Apologies for not my normal happy hump day, but it's a sad day for Bucks fans in the state of Wisconsin. I was 14 years old and an avid Bucks fan. When Kareem demanded a trade, the Bucks sent him to the Lakers for Elmore Smith, Brian Winters, and 2 draft picks, which turned out to be David Myers and Junior Bridgeman. I was fortunate enough to meet Junior a couple of times, and he is the epitome of grace and class. To call him a true gentleman is a gross understatement. Thanks for the fond memories. Rest in peace. Steve, appreciate the email. I had numerous opportunities to meet Junior Bridgeman, talk to Junior Bridgeman. And I would agree with that. Probably the classiest person I ever met was Bart Starr, hands down. And right up there, I would have to agree with you on Junior Bridgeman. He was just such a nice guy and loved to talk basketball. Now, obviously, formerly where I worked, they were a Wendy's sponsor. He owned a ton of Wendy's. For those that didn't know, it's like every Wendy's in the state of Wisconsin, I think he owned. I mean, it's, all done by Junior Bridgeman and Bridgeman, company. And so we did some stuff with them to where he came in studio a couple of times. And when I was doing, go back to when I was with WTMJ and we were doing the broadcast down at the Bradley Center way back in the day, and even the playoffs and such, plenty of times that he and I had a chance to sit down and talk. And just such an incredibly nice guy, a smart guy. He was not, other than on the basketball court and maybe in the world of real estate, he wasn't like an aggressive figure. On the court, he certainly was. He played hard. But when he talked about the game, and like you and I will get frustrated, like I'm frustrated with, giving Giannis the ball and letting him put up the last second shot, which was as dumb can be. But he would never go there. He would always say, well, they got an open look. He had an opportunity. It wasn't like it was making excuses. He would look at the moment the way it was, and not the analytical side of what should have been or could have been. But he was always just very nice and soft-spoken and just a really good guy. I just remember, though, when back at the old Bradley Center, I did a show. We were down there really early. It was a playoffs. And this might go back to when George Karl was there. I think it was. And Junior and I, because I was doing the show courtside. And Junior was one of the guys they brought over. Oscar Robertson was one of the guys they brought over. They brought a bunch of these guys over. And they just sat, and it's where I've always said to yourself, you want to be a fly on the wall, and you just want to listen. Junior Bridgeman, Oscar Robertson, all these guys were just sitting there just talking basketball. And Marcus Johnson, they were there just talking basketball and locker rooms and old times and just stories. Some you could tell, some you couldn't. But it was just so cool to listen to. And he just sat there and kind of gave everybody there say it was probably the most fascinating discussion was between him and Oscar Robertson, and just talking about, places in Milwaukee, places they used to go, the culture, and just how cool it was. And it was just great to listen to that. And you're right. I mean, there's nothing, because when Junior passed, my first thought was, what stuck out? And what stuck out about Junior was that he didn't stick out, other than being a really big guy. He didn't stick out. He wasn't a lightning rod. He wasn't an overwhelming in-your-face superstar. He wasn't a negative guy. He was just a really smart, down-to-earth, as a CEO of a company, calm and introspective and intellectual guy as you would ever want to talk to. He was just a really cool dude. So, yeah, it was somewhat shocking. Now, when he passed, I'm like, oh my God, I didn't know he was that old. And then when I saw he was 71, I'm like, wow, that's, in today's day and age, that's kind of young. That's kind of young. So it was a sad day. I agree with you that Junior Bridgeman passes away. What else do we have here for you? Is there any breaking news this morning that maybe I have missed? Because I don't think I've kind of scoured things, Grant, to say that I haven't missed anything. I know a lot of these deals are getting now finalized in the NFL, but I don't think we've really missed anything. Nothing has been big and breaking today, correct?
Nothing crazy. I guess one thing that we haven't mentioned that maybe we should, Rob Domofsky and some others pointing this out. And I don't know where Rob got this, if he's presenting it as reporting or what, but he tweeted at 9:45, today could be the day for Jair Alexander news. The Packers haven't released him yet because they're still holding out hope they can get something in return for a trade. If they want to designate him for a post-June 1 cut for cap purposes, they have to wait until 3 p.m. today.
Right.
So
you get the sense that that's what's going to be what's happening.
I guess Rob is explaining the timeline, which is necessary because I don't always understand the timeline of a post-June 1 cut. But that second part where he says they're holding out hope they can get something for him in a trade, I don't know if he's reporting that or if he's assuming. I don't know, but that's what we learned about Jair earlier today, at least from Rob Domofsky.
Yeah, it's the same thing with like Rodgers. Rodgers technically is still under contract for the Jets. And if they designate him as a post-June 1st cut, then the Jets save the $9.5 million in cap space. But it really doesn't get the club anything when it comes to, draft capital or trade or anything. So that's why, the whole thing with Rodgers could take a little bit longer. But, we've seen other guys that are out there that have made decisions that say, this is where I want to go. And right now in the Rodgers camp, at least, they're saying he wants to take his time. So here's the other question. And I know this is a big one right now coming out of Chicago. And the question this morning was, as I was driving, I had meetings this morning, was, out of all the teams in the NFC North that are looking at this in the next 2-year window as going for it, is it the Bears? Because I know Bears fans want to say that. I don't think so. You can't say you're going for it with a second-year quarterback who had a relatively unsuccessful or minor first year. So it's going to take you a couple of years to get yourself on the track. But I will say this, what Ryan Poles has done in rebuilding and reconstructing the offensive line and the protection up front and, obviously a new head coach. And I get it. I get it. But when you look at some of these deals that are getting done throughout the rest of the NFC North, the Bears have been the most active, 100%. But again, they had to, with the way last season went for them. They had to do something, and they had the cap space. Now, when you look, like what I was a little disappointed was the 1-year, $12 million deal that Joey Bosa got with the Bills. I'm thinking to myself, why would you not do that if you're Goody? Why would you not have done that? I don't understand. You need an edge rusher. It's not a ton of money. Did that blow your mind a little bit, Grant, that Joey Bosa? Now, again, Bosa's a guy that gets banged up a lot. So the availability, that's something you take into consideration. But 1 year, $12 million? Like you couldn't have taken the gamble on that?
I feel like they could get a similar player on a similar contract and not have to worry about the injuries. Yeah. He's Jair. I keep saying this. He's Jair in edge rusher form. Right. He's missed like 50% of his games the last couple of years.
But I'm thinking, man, that wasn't that big a deal. which, again, a lot of teams are taking into consideration that he's obviously a guy that's been banged up. But I'm kind of like, but that was it? I thought there'd be more to that. When I read that, I was like, oof, why? And then came all the vitriol from Packers fans that want to say, hey, why are you not spending any money? Why are you not doing the, we need to get serious about championships around here type of thing? Why is that not happening the way at least people perceived it? Which, again, perception becomes reality in a lot of people's minds, that maybe that meant that he was going to go into the free agent market and really begin to spend big and find some of the shiny objects. Not that that was supposed to happen, but maybe that was our perception when he made that statement. But I'm like, wow, that was kind of interesting. Let's see here. What else do we have? 877-867-1670. If you want to find us, please feel free. Go ahead and do so. So the Packers with the new club adjusted cap, the salary cap, the Packers would sit at $297.6 million. You still got the Bears that sit at $285 million. So they got some more money that they could spend. Titans at $300 million. They're up against it. You got a lot of teams that have the ability to spend some money that still are going to be out there in the open market looking around. But yeah, let's see here. At 284, the Vikings still have money to spend. The Lions sit at $306 million right now. The Bears 285.3 in the NFC North. So there's still some ability, man, that they could go out and spend more money and find that. And again, I'm not sitting here saying that it's likely they're going to find. I just don't think they're done. I just don't think they're done. I don't think that I think there's going to be more to this. And I think it's going to be for Packers fans. I think it's going to be what I said yesterday. It's going to be disappointing because you wanted the shiny object. You saw some of the big name guys, what we believe to be the automatic impact players, come off the board. And that's what you wanted. And I understand that. There's nothing wrong with that. Doesn't make it right or wrong. I understand it. But I don't think they're done. I would be surprised if they don't do anything else in free agency. If they don't address, or a trade, if they don't address one of the like the wide receiver need or the edge rusher need, I would be somewhat surprised. I got to be honest with you, because I just still feel like there's something else there. And I keep waiting, like the rest of you. I keep waiting, but it just hasn't happened yet. So, maybe we just cross our fingers. 877-867-1670. Hang in there. We got a whole lot more of the Bill Michaels Show coming up. This portion of the program brought to you by our good friends over there at Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. At Pella, they have got a lot of different things going in their direction. And a couple of them are this. One is you get Pella in your home. It adds value to your home. Boom, right away. Your house is more valuable. Two, adds safety and security. When you lay your head on your pillow at night, you're good to go. Unless somebody comes crashing through the windows, they're not getting in the home. That's number two. Number three, you can finance it. 0% financing they even have right now offering available. So you can do windows for as low as $22 a window a month. I mean, which is really, really reasonable. Plus the certified Pella installers. Plus right now you can go with all different lines, something to fit your budget, fit your style. So there's another reason there to go with Pella, whether it's the vinyl windows, the Impervia windows, the wood windows, the custom windows, whatever it happens to be to match, say, what it is your home's period is. They can do that. I mean, just the economical factor on the inside, there is so much that they can do, That's the reason you call Pella. That's the reason I did. Go to PellaWI.com. That's PellaWI.com. Give them a call. 855-PELLA-WI. That's 855-PELLA-WI. And just say, hey, I heard it about on the Bill Michaels Show. Want to look into it. And they'll come out to your house and they'll just look at the windows that you may need. You may not even need a whole new set of windows. Just a window or two. And you can go in that direction. Check out our friends at Pella Windows and Doors. Go to PellaWI.com. That is PellaWI.com.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
For the power generation right here in the state of Wisconsin, as a matter of fact. And they do it in the backyard that is Grafton. All you got to do is give them a call, 262-337-2210, 262-337-2210. But you can search online. Look, they're looking for really good CNC machinists right now. And all you got to do is go online to Indeed, INDEED, if you are going to put your resume, submit it right there and go to MIBA Industrial Bearings in Grafton, Wisconsin. They came on board because, one, they need good people. So this is a great way to reach people throughout the state. Two, because they wanted to back our Big Unit Foundation, which is great. And three, it's because they just think that they like the show, which is awesome to me and Grant and you listening. And so they wanted to be a part of it. But MIBA, right there in Grafton, Wisconsin, MIBA Industrial. You can find them on Indeed or call them direct, 262-337-2210. But they do. They are always a shout out because they listen out there in the machining area. They have us on, which is pretty cool. Pretty cool. MIBA Industrial Bearings in Grafton, Wisconsin. What else do we have here today? We got so much coming up today. We got Isaac Trotter from 24/7 going to join us coming up a little bit later on today. Sam Monson is going to be here as well, and he will join us. So we're looking forward to that. This one's from Brewer Dave. Brewer Dave says, are you going to be back at Stenny's again this year? We want to stop down and say hello on opening day. Yes. 16 days, I think. We are away from opening day. 16 days from opening day. But is it 16 days? I think it's more than that. Because I think opening day is what? The 27th? When they go to New York? The 20th, or is it the 28th, 29th, and 30th? I think it's the 27th opening day.
The home opener is
March
3
31st.
weeks from this last Monday.
Yes.
So the weekend before would be opening
Correct.
day, which would be Thursday, I assume, the 27th?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So opening day is Monday, March 31st. Yes, Brewer Dave. We're going to be down at Stenny, 2nd and National, Walker's Point. Going to be down there having a good time. So come on down and say hi to us. Can't wait. What else are we going to have here for you? Let's see. Ray says, I think the Green Bay Packers are missing the boat, and yet again, just being happy with what they have. I don't think they're really trying to get better. I think they're trying to get better as cheaply as possible. This team never just says, let money not be the object. Let's get good people in the door. Why are they so guarded when it comes to the monetary vest of this team? They don't have the vested interest of everybody in their best interest. They just want to work things out with guys that are just trying to hold on and to try to get them as cheaply as possible. Well, Ray, there are teams that are doing that. I mean, no team wants to go out and spend buku amounts of money unless you got buku amounts of money to spend, right? So I get what you're saying. On one hand, yeah, when was the last time they really got the big shiny object? Julius Peppers. Before that, it was Charles Woodson. And before that, I can only imagine was the biggest maybe free agent move in the history of this franchise was Reggie White. So they did get those guys, but they needed to bring other players in. It's so, when you look in recent history, you look at picking up Von Miller and OBJ, and you'll watch the Rams go on to a championship. You look at what happened last year with Saquon Barkley and the Philadelphia Eagles going, we're in, let's go. And then they bolstered that defense, and they ended up winning a championship. We've seen this, so it does work. So for the Packers not to say, well, one guy doesn't make a difference. No, but if you're going for it, you go for it. You try to fill in all the holes, and then you hope you get a little bit of luck and you get a little bit of ball bounce and health along the way, and everything kind of transforms for you. And that's what's happened. But I don't know. I'm with you. Look, I don't want to sit here and rain on the parade of the Packers. I think they've done a decent job at adding depth. That I do. But I'm with you. We sit here, we see names, we see productivity, we see what certain guys can do and the dynamicness they can bring to teams, and we see teams that spend money in the offseason that have then bolstered their win total, and then we see the Packers do the deals that are considered by many to be minimal. Although last year, Josh Jacobs was not minimal. Last year, Xavier McKinney was not minimal. So you're kind of stuck, in the emotions of things. I think we live in the here and the now and the present, when in reality, I think if you do get a little bit of a bounce from some of the second to third year guys, if you do get a bounce out of your quarterback, if you do get a bounce out of a couple of defenders, suddenly you go from a team that might have some question marks to a team that's probably really, really good. But the question then becomes, because they could not beat the elite teams, have they climbed that mountain to the elite yet? And I would have to sit here and say with many of you, no, I don't think they have. Let's go to Dave, listening to us in Appleton. Dave, how you doing today, man? What's going on?
Good, Unit. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. What you thinking?
Hey, I just want to kind of push back a little bit on the not spending money type of thing and separate it just a little bit. As I would like to see more brought in and more help, and that's not an automatic, it's not a guarantee, but the Packers do spend money. And just look at what we have to pay to get rid of Jair Alexander. When he got his contract, he was the highest paid corner at the time. Look at David Bakhtiari. Look at Kenny Clark when we paid him. Look at Jordan Love. So, you know what? When we do pay out some big contracts, and that might be a little bit of a residual of why. I mean, I know we have the cap money, but you know what? Minnesota isn't paying a big-time quarterback right now.
Nope.
And that's going to allow you to do some of this. Same thing with the Chicagos of the world. He's still on a rookie contract.
Right.
We decided to dive all in and pay $50 million a year for, an above-average quarterback, and that is going to change things a little bit. So maybe we haven't spent a lot of money on the big-time free agents, but to say we haven't spent money, I don't agree with that.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the phone call, because that's a good point. That's a good point. They don't have contracts right now. Now, granted, the Packers, when it comes to Jordan Love, his cap hit this year is not massive. It's not impeding this team from the capability of spending money, because Jordan Love's only making, 29 million this year, I think, is what his total cap hit is going to be. 29 million. He's this year, he doesn't even get to 13% of the cap until 2028. I don't know if you realize that. Until 2028. He's making 20, his total cap hit is like 29. And that's 10.6% of the team's total cap. Next year is 36. It takes a little bit more significant jump to 11.7. 2027, it's 42.4. And then he's 12.5% of the team's total cap hit. And in 2028, he becomes 19, almost 20% of the team's total cap hit, the way it stands today at $74 million. But the most amazing thing about this whole structured deal is if the Packers wanted to get out of this, the potential first out year would be right after the 2026 season, which would be $51 million of dead cap money that they could then go in a different direction with a younger quarterback if they believe that Jordan Love is not the guy. So you've got a little bit for Jordan Love. You got kind of a 2-year window to kind of prove it, to say, yeah, I'm the guy. But that contract is not totally impeding things for this team to be able to make moves. As a matter of fact, you no more than say that. And don't forget, look at what the Vikings did again yesterday. When you talk about an offensive lineman, they picked up Will Freeze, the big guard from the Indianapolis Colts. 5 years, $88 million. They ended up paying him. Now, granted, again, they're not paying a quarterback. They're paying it's a rookie deal, but they're bolstering the offensive line. They're going out and fixing holes too. 877-867-1670. Good point, though. Good point. We'll get back to the phone calls when we come back. Don't go anywhere. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends at Sobelman's Pub and Grill right there on St. Paul Avenue in Milwaukee. We were down there on Saturday night, as a matter of fact. Went in and said hi to Dave and his staff. There was a guy next to me that got a smash burger. Oh, my God. It had an egg on it and everything. It was fantastic looking. We had just got done eating. We went down there just to have a beer and say hi to Dave. But oh, my goodness, they had some great food down there. The big Bloody Marys that are meals, they're going to have, obviously, big doings going on down there for opening day and such. But Sobelman's Pub and Grill in Milwaukee on St. Paul Avenue. The same food, the same burgers, the same great service, everything out there in Waukesha as well on William Street, right across the street from La Estacion. As they say at Sobelman's, let's catch up. So let's meet at Sobelman's. Let's do it.
Meet at Sobelman's.
Milwaukee and Waukesha.
Ready?
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
You can accomplish quite a lot in 6 years. You go from changing diapers to dropping your child off at school. College, you can get a bachelor's and a master's degree. And you can take up to 6 years to pay off your brand new Pella windows and doors at 0% interest. Hi, it's Gina Della from Pella. With Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin, you get so much more than stunning windows and doors. You get the Pella experience. Talk about quality control. Pella manufactures, sells, installs, and services every product. A 10-year labor warranty is always included, so your windows and doors are secure for years to come. Our expert installers are available year-round and can install in as little as a day. If something ever goes wrong, Pella will handle it ASAP because you work with the same team from start to finish. Set your free in-home consultation today at PellaWI.com.
Certain restrictions apply. Ends 3/8/25.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome in. coming. Columbus, Wisconsin. We're going to be there on April 4th. Friday, April 4th, Columbus, Wisconsin. We're coming. Marquette RV opening up a brand new location, and we are going to be there and doing a live broadcast on Friday the 4th, and that is the day, from what I'm told, that the new big unit cruiser will be unveiled. I can't wait. I'm excited about that. Looking forward to it. Hey, Marquette RV, they have got all kinds, whether it's a Tiffin Motor Coach, Thor Motor Coach, Winnebago, Cruiser RV, Jayco, Forest River, Alliance, Heartland, Keystone. I can go on and on and on and on. I can reel them off with the best of them. Marquette RV with locations all over the state of Wisconsin. And the one thing they pride themselves on is their service. Everybody talks about the inventory they have, and that's great because everybody can make a deal. But their service is what sets them apart. And they're just good people. They're local. And that's the other thing is they're local. They're not somebody that's got this massive chain all throughout the state, all throughout the nation. They're local, and they take care of you locally. So get a hold of our friends at Marquette, MarkQuart, MarquetteRV.com. That is MarquetteRV.com. Get a hold of them and tell them we sent you. And if you are in the Columbus, Wisconsin area, out in Sun Prairie, out in Madison, Watertown, Johnson Creek, come on by and say hi. We're going to be there that Friday, April 4th, and we're going to unveil the brand new big unit cruiser. This first hour flew by. I can't wait for hour number 2, hour number 3, hour number 4. Looking forward to it. Give it up, yeah! Here we go. We're off and running now, baby. More of the Bill Michaels Show right after this.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
The Milwaukee Bucks would fall last night on a 4-point play with 3.4 seconds left. The Indiana Pacers, Therese Halliburton, would convert after taking a handoff-style inbound pass along the left sideline while elevating over Giannis Antetokounmpo, fading out of bounds, buried the three, and then was fouled, and then would make the free throw to see the Pacers beat the Bucks 115-114. Up next for the Bucks, they'll come back to the Pfizer Forum tomorrow to face the Lakers. Some sad news for the Bucks yesterday. Former player and minority owner Junior Bridgeman passed away at the age of 71 after a medical emergency. Bridgeman played for the Bucks from 75 to 84 and 86 to 87. He ranked 7th in Bucks history in field goals, 9th in points, and 10th in minutes. Last year also saw Bridgeman have a 10% stake in the franchise, as he said it was a dream of his. Turning to the Badgers, Wisconsin's John Tonje was named first-team All-Big Ten yesterday. John Blackwell was a consensus honorable mention pick. Badgers, they'll face Minnesota or Northwestern tomorrow for the Big Ten tournament. Head coach Greg Gard also said Nolan Winter should be ready to go, as well as Max Klesman.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
When a company only does business in Wisconsin, that's Wisconsin Strong. Rural Mutual provides all lines of insurance, including commercial, farm, home, and auto. And your premiums stay right here to keep Wisconsin strong. Local agents, local underwriters, local claims adjusters.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
Free agency continues on. The Packers still have just signed 49ers guard Aaron Banks and Raiders cornerback Nate Hobbs. Their deals are eligible to sign today as the new league year begins. And finally, yesterday saw Brewers pitcher Brandon Woodruff pitch in a game the first time in 17 months. For the Wisconsin Sports Zone Network, I'm Ebo.
We're back. Hour number 2, getting settled. Getting settled. Welcome in to everybody on the network. Everybody through the great state of Wisconsin. Everybody hanging out with us on all of our affiliate stations. Whether you're up in Menominee, Marinette, Tomahawk, Madison, Platteville, Eau Claire, La Crosse, Shawano, Clintonville, Marshfield. I can go on and on and on. Green Bay. Give it up for Green Bay. They got us on all 4 hours now. Now we're kicking it in Green Bay. Love it. We got to do something up there, too. If you're listening to us in Green Bay and Jimmy and those guys, if you're up there listening, we got to get together. We got to get like the conglomeration, like Bill and Rookie and all those guys in the morning, and Marcus and everybody. We got to all go do something. Grant comes up. Maybe we go to Prohibition. We do like a cigar dinner or something. We got to do something up there. Now that Green Bay said, "Hey, we're going to fully embrace the Bill Michaels show." Hell yeah, we got to do something up there. Just everybody get out. Let's go do something. That'd be kind of cool. Today, a hell of it. I don't want to bore you with the details, but today, I literally, not Grant, you know this because I texted you this, but I walked in the door 3 minutes before we went on the air today. And for those that think that maybe I was a little disheveled in the first hour of the show, you were 100% correct. If it didn't come off that way, then I am one hell of a professional. But I literally walked in the door at 9:57 a.m. I had a couple of meetings I had to go to this morning, and we got a lot, by the way, coming up. I was meeting with our friends at Potawatomi. And we're going back to Carter. It's not like going back to Compton or anything, but it's going back to Carter. I wish I could make a rap song about it, but we're going back to Carter this year. They've got a music series coming up. We might be a part of. I know we're going to do another post-game show again there this year, so I'm looking forward to it. But I want to go to Carter in the summertime. That's when I want to go. So if you can get Rachel off to come up and join us, Grant, and do the show there. They're gonna put us up, and they got music. Now they're doing like local bands, but it's like local tribute bands. Like there's a Fleetwood Mac, and there's a Rush, and there's like a bunch of different. There's a Prince cover band, and all this different. They're bringing music series up there to Carter, Wisconsin, to the Potawatomi Hotel up there, and so they want to bring us up for that. So we can go up and do a whole weekend up there. Carter's beautiful. But there was a lot of stuff that was closed when we were there because it's closed for the season. So in the summertime, though, it's happening.
Yeah, it's the place to be up there. I wonder if the Fleetwood Mac, and I don't know where they're from, but if they're from the northern portion of Wisconsin, they could be called Northwoods Mac. That'd be kind of clever.
There you go.
It's not my best work.
Northwoods Mac.
It's not really that good, I don't think.
Well, they live under arches. They could be called just the Big Mac.
That's true, I suppose, right? There's we could do lots of different themes for Fleetwood Mac cover band. I'd love to go up there in the summer. We just got we have friends who have a cabin in Door County, and they invited us to go up here in a couple weekends. Oh. I'm like, I love Door County, and we went to Marquette in January. Too. I need some of these things to work out in the summer when it's warm, and when I can't just like sit in the house and think, man, this would be beautiful in the summer.
In all fairness, and Kristen's got a point. She's like, Bill, why are we going away to your house in Indiana in the summertime? And I said, well, because nobody wants to go there and sit and look at the ice in the wintertime. You go there because it's the summertime. She goes, yeah, but there's so much to do in Wisconsin. If we didn't go there, what would we do? And we'd probably stay in Wisconsin and take a trip, and then maybe we'd go to Door County, or maybe we'd go spend time in Carter, or maybe we'd go back up to the Northwoods, up to Tomahawk, and spend time there. But yeah, it's summertime is a great time in the state of Wisconsin, but there is so much. I was sitting here going through our schedule. We're going to be at the Rice Lake Celebrity Golf Outing. The following week after that, there's a couple of different things going on. Cigar dinners are happening. We've got the IndyCar race up at Elkhart Lake. I had mentioned, did I tell you that I had the dinner with my son last Friday?
That's right. There was supposed to be some big.
There was.
What was that all about?
They're pregnant.
Oh, so you're going to be a grandpa.
Be a granddad. Yeah. So third time over.
Congrats.
Yeah. So, fourth time over. This will be fourth time over. I forgot one of my grandkids.
Well, when you get to be a grandpa, it's hard to remember things. Well, Bill, I get it.
Here's the thing: is thank you very much for the nut kick. I don't know how to say this, but I had kids when I was young, and because my daughter is 41, so if you do the math from where I'm at, I was young. So my daughter's already got 2 kids. So, and then my other daughter has one, Trip, and then you've got. My son up here in Wisconsin, him and his wife, and they just got us together. And actually the shower is I don't know if they really wanted it here or they were hinting at it, but they said, well, they wanted to have a shower, and her family lives in Madison and he's got friends that live here and in Milwaukee. And then his mom is not far from me, which is my second ex-wife. And she's still a really good friend of ours. And so everybody wants to gather somewhere. And I'm like, well, just do it at the house. Because that way you can do it outside on the patio in June when it's warm. Or if it rains or it's inclement weather, got the inside. You got the great room in the bar and everything else. So the house is kind of built for entertaining. And for if you have to make something turn on the fly, you can. They're like, oh my God, thank you. You know, so yeah, we offered at the house, and we had to, naturally you got to go to the registry and find what all the baby items are. And then after that, you're the parent. So you can't pick like, oh, I'll buy you 2 bags of baby diapers. You can't do that. So, okay, there's this crib thing that they had, and this high chair that they had, and this stroller that they had, all of which are crazy money compared to what they used to be. So we ended up, when we went to buy the stroller was already gone. So it's like, okay, we've already been outdone. So now we had to buy the Graco high chair. And I will say this is the best of the story. It may have just bored your ass off, but this is the best of the story. I was out. What day do we have 60 degrees? Monday. So I'm out Monday. I got the motorcycle out, and I go out and I go around, drive it around, and I get a little wind therapy. I didn't even wear a jacket. I was like, you know what? The hell with it. I'm going to get cold a little bit. I'm good. I go out and ride the motorcycle. I come back, and the Amazon truck pulls up in the driveway, and he gets out and he looks at me, and he's got this big Graco high chair on his shoulder, and you can tell what it is. I mean, it's on the box, and he looks at me like, oh, I got the right house. This guy's not procreating, like, is this, I don't even think this dude, I think this dude might be dry, not quite sure. He looked at me kind of funny, like, are you getting a high chair? I said, oh yeah, this is great. We've been needing this.
Like, this
and the guy just looked at me like, right on, dude.
This guy needs someone's help to feed himself, I think is what he probably thought.
This guy's looking at me like, dude, still tapping. How are we looking? So, yeah. So I took credit for that. But and then he says to me, he's got it on his shoulder. He's like, are you sure? It's heavy. I'm like, I think I got it. It's a high chair. Because I was expecting like something to be real heavy. And I'm like, no, this is actually pretty light, dude. I got it. I threw it over my shoulder. I was carrying it with one arm. And he's looking at me like, okay, still a virile dude. All right, how are we looking?
Virile. You sound like Charchian.
Right.
He mentioned that a couple times ago. He's on with us. But Charch, how are you today? I'm feeling virile, Bill.
Virile today, Bill. Yes.
Get this man a high chair. Fine. All right.
Yeah. So anyway, but yeah. So that's a lot of the stuff that's going on. So
how was the Calderon Club? Was good though.
Oh my God. We ended up going to San Giorgio next door to the pizza place, and that's just so good. It's stupid good. And it's just, back in the day, I used to be able to just crush a pizza like it was not even in front of me. I just gone. And today, because I don't eat as much anymore, I had to bring a piece home, even heat it up. Because we know pizza sucks in the microwave. Even heat it up the next day. You just throw a paper towel over it so it absorbs some of that moisture in the air. Oh my God, it was good the next day. It was breakfast the next day. Oh God, it was so good. So good. So anyway, but that's what we did, and that was the announcement. Is that I'm going to be? I think she is due in September or the first week of October, and it's a boy, by the way. And we found out it's a boy too. So there you go. So grandchild shower. So I'm thinking, like for a shower, like party, right? They're going to have it here on a Saturday party, man. I'm thinking, bartenders, music, and Kristen's like, it's a shower. You're going to have parents here. People are going to be dressing in blue. It's for a baby. They're handing over breast pumps. Nobody is getting gassed at this thing, And I'm like, oh, well, cigars?
Anything?
Can I do anything?
Can I have caffeine at least? Can I have any stimulants at this thing?
Can I put on my music? Can I throw a Brewers game on the TV in the tiki bar? I mean, can I do something?
I need a cocktail if breast pumps are being exchanged. Right? I think that's a fair.
That's just it.
It's a fair trade-off.
And then as a guy, you're looking around. You're like, how does this thing work?
We're all thinking it.
I know.
It's like It's like when men are gifted a tool or something for, it's like, well, let me try it out. Let me get my hands on it. I got to see how this thing works.
I don't know how that works.
Breast pump is no different. We learn by doing, men. We need to get our hands on things.
So if I cut a hole in a watermelon and put this thing where the hole is, can I get watermelon juice out of this watermelon?
It's a great way to test the suction, I feel like.
Exactly. Oh, exactly. So that's awesome, man. So, again, this is one of those parties where Kristen's like, just clean up the yard, make sure everything's ready to go. The tiki bar is perfect. I'll do the rest. I said, I'm done. There you go.
Seems like a deviled eggs and Kool-Aid type of affair.
Yeah.
Maybe not so much cigars and cocktails.
If we do the deviled eggs, I am not responsible what happens for about 8 hours after that.
Cigars will smell better, actually. Do the cigars. Never mind.
I'll do
cigars
downstairs. Absolutely. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. You want to find us, please feel free. Go ahead and do so. 877-867-1670. Did you hear that Brett Favre said Aaron Rodgers should go to the Minnesota Vikings?
Yeah, I have the audio here. If you give me a sec, we can listen to it. It's on Fox News, it looks like. Let me check to make sure this is loud enough so it's actually going to come through the
Brett
radio.
Favre on the Fox News channel said that, you know what, Aaron, if he has that opportunity, to be able to go in and play against Green Bay a couple of times and to be able to do that, he should probably go over to the dark side, which is the people of purple, and maybe live over there and try to, do something, that Brett wasn't able to do, and that's take him to a Super Bowl vicariously, so to speak. So here's what Brett Favre had to say about Aaron Rodgers heading off into the sunset in Minnesota.
There's talk that he's not ruled out the Vikings, okay, which is the exact path you walked, Brett. What would you say to Aaron if he was thinking about signing with the Vikings?
By all means, sign with them. They got a really good football team. They're loaded at pretty much every position.
They're loaded at pretty much every position. Go ahead and do it. And now he wasn't out there promoting it. Like, oh, you got to do this. You got to go in there and whoop their ass, blah, blah, blah. You can't do that. But he basically said, yeah, go ahead and do it. And then again, I understand you got to go where you got to go. Best situation, best money, best capability to win. You got to go where you got to go. But who is more ready to win? Who gives you the best opportunity? Okay, you probably say the Vikings with the weapons that they have. Okay, that I'll side with you on. Where are you wanted? Because from everything we hear coming out of Minnesota, it doesn't sound like they have that much interest. Now, here's the thing. The one guy that said, wait for this whole quarterback thing to shake out was Silver. And that's the only, Grant, that is the only reason I have any inkling of Aaron Rodgers going to Minnesota. Otherwise, I would say this is not even a possibility. He is just making the Pittsburgh Steelers wait.
Roger, well, there's probably part of that too, but I asked a Vikings guy or two yesterday about that Silver report, and they're like, yeah, Rodgers really likes Minnesota, and he's got some of these insiders, putting some buzz out there to try to get it going, but Minnesota's just not interested at all.
That's the only reason I have.
You were right.
That's it. That's his guy, man. Anything to the Aaron Rodgers stories because Silver was one to put it out there, and Silver's his guy. So other than that, I think that's 877-1670, 877-86. Feel free, go ahead and do so again, 877-867-1670. Let's do this. Let's step out. We'll take a quick break. We're going to come back. We got a whole lot more to get to, obviously. And we are going to get into some of the off-season thus far grades that don't mean a hill of beans, and who has so far won the off-season, even though we all know in reality it doesn't necessarily equate to wins in the regular season. So let's do this. 877-867-1670. This portion of the program brought to you by our good friends over there, Point Brewing. Point Brewing, brewing excellence since 1857. We had a great time up there. And whether it's the sodas, the cream sodas, or you're going in there for the beverages, the good adult stuff. They had a hazelnut brownie ale that was, it was thick. It was like drinking motor oil, but man, was it good. Oh, it was so good. The amber, the Bach, the Snow Pilot that is still out, and then comes the Lakeside. Then we get into the summer months, the Lakeside Pale Ale and the Drop Dead Blonde and everything that goes along with it. Oh, it's so good. They have got something for everybody to offer, including the Cider Boys selection. Oh, they got all kinds of good stuff. That's our friends at Point Brewing. Brewing excellence since 1857.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
You can accomplish quite a lot in 6 years. You go from changing diapers to dropping your child off at school. College, you can get a bachelor's and a master's degree. And you can take up to 6 years to pay off your brand new Pella windows and doors at 0% interest. Hi, it's Gina Della from Pella. With Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin, you get so much more than stunning windows and doors. You get the Pella experience. Talk about quality control. Pella manufactures, sells, installs, and services every product. A 10-year labor warranty is always included, so your windows and doors are secure for years to come. Our expert installers are available year-round and can install in as little as a day. If something ever goes wrong, Pella will handle it ASAP because you work with the same team from start to finish. Oh my gosh, why wait? Get the Pella experience and this incredible deal. 0% interest for up to 6 years on brand new Pella windows and doors. Set your free in-home consultation today at PellaWI.com.
Certain restrictions apply. That's 3/8/25.
You want local sports coverage? You got it. The Big and the Bill Michaels here. Join me right here on My 24 every week for the very best Wisconsin sports coverage. We'll break down the big matchups, get inside the locker room access, fan feedback, and plenty of big-name guests. It's Bill Michaels, Wisconsin Sports Weekly, and it's brought to you by these great local sponsors.
Looking for me? We deliver. Yes. What's up? Delivery. Oh my God. What we do? Brakes over, driver.
Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Michaels Show. We continue on.
6 o'clock news says somebody
Gotta say thanks to John Adley and the whole staff over at the Water Doctors. Water Doctors, big supporter of the not only the motorcycle ride, but Big Unit Foundation and the gala that is coming up. And ticket sales, I think, end in 2 days. So if you have not gotten your tickets yet, get them now because they're going quick. I think we only have like 10 left. I put out a video yesterday, and we got some additional donations that came in. We had a couple of sponsor tables that sold yesterday, and I think we're down now to like 10 tickets, and that's it. So if you have not gotten your tickets yet, please get them because I'm telling you, it'll end up selling out. Our friends at the Water Doctors, big supporter of both, and they have the best water softening system on the market. I don't say this because they're a sponsor. I say this because I had it before they were a sponsor, and I can attest to it. I had something else that was in my home, a name brand unit, hated it, wasn't fond of it, and didn't know how bad it was until I brought the Kinetico system into my home, whether it's the drinking water for you, maybe your kids, or your pets. Make sure it is safe and clean and gives you peace of mind, and they have everything that can do that. That is our friends at the Water Doctors. H2, the letter O, doctors.com. The Kinetico water softening system is by far the best. H2, the letter O, doctors, H2odoctors.com, or just call them direct anywhere in the state of Wisconsin, and they can help you out, okay? That's what they're there for. 262-549-7733, 262-549-7733. Call them, and they can get you what you need. They're just such good people. Just John and Amber are just such good people. And spent a little time with John over the weekend, and Amber for that matter. And we were out picking up some donation items together for our gala coming up. And they're just all in. So just great people. The Water Doctors, give them a shout. So let's do this. Let's talk about some of the teams that have made moves the offseason. And let's talk about some of the grades for this stuff. As the NFL, we all know, is kind of as the world turns, but things have been rather fast and furious over the last couple of days, and now the dust is beginning to settle as the ink is going to be starting to dry. So let's talk about it. Grant, what you got?
So I got 5 or 6 teams. I'll remind you of the moves that they've made, players that they brought in or gotten rid of, and then you have to assign them a grade, right? And it's completely subjective. You're the teacher, so you know, put your spin on it. If you disagree with what the masses are saying, then that's fine. That's even better, actually. Let's start with Seattle. They signed Sam Darnold for 3 years, $100 million.
Yep.
They got a 3rd rounder for Geno and a 2nd rounder for Metcalf, and they cut a bunch of guys like Lockett, Fant, Roy Robertson, Harris. Grade the Seahawks offseason so far.
I would give John Schneider a B. I'd give him a B. I first of all, I think he upgraded a quarterback. I'm going to be really interested to see what the Seahawks do as far as Sam Darnold goes. Because did Sam Darnold just find himself to be a little bit better? Or did Sam Darnold, is he that much better? Or was that all Kevin O'Connell's doing? You know what I mean? So that's what I want to find out. But the fact that they were able to pick up more draft choices, they still have Jackson Smith and Jigba. They got, although Jake Bobo is not anybody that really thrills me. Dareke Young is still their wide receiver. Their offensive line still pretty solid. They need a running back. I like Kenneth Walker, but they could probably use another running back. Charbonnet was the guy they picked up, was it last year, I think? Last year or 2 years ago, one of the two. But they've still got a ways to go. But I like the fact that they are rebuilding without rebuilding. And I believe that they can still remain competitive. So I think John Schneider has done a fantastic job. I would give him a B at this point.
I like that. I'm going to write that one down.
Mark it down.
Most people think their offseason has been kind of a mess. If you think Darnold and Geno are equivalent, which some people don't, some people think Geno's way better. Okay, well, if that's your opinion, then you're going to hate it. But if you think Darnold and Geno are comparable, they got younger, and they got some extra picks in rounds 2 and 3 to kind of rebuild.
Exactly.
Without rebuilding, though, which I really like. And I respect that John Schneider and the Seahawks don't tear it down and suck and draft and suck and draft. The Commanders. So they've done a lot. They acquired Deebo Samuel for a 5th rounder. They lost Jonathan Allen to Minnesota, but they acquired Laramie Tunsil for a couple picks this year, a couple picks next year. Re-signed Bobby Wagner and signed Javon Kinlaw for 45 over 3. Grade the Commanders offseason so far.
Hey, that's a team that said, damn, our quarterback's good. Let's do this. Jaden Daniels, fantastic. Brian Robinson Jr. is your running back. They still have Austin Eckler back there. Laramie Tunsil now is your left tackle, and you're not going to have to see your quarterback running around so much. They still have Deebo Samuel, Terry McLaurin, who is your big guy. They've upgraded in a lot of different areas. I like what they've done. Javon Kinlaw, they ended up picking up the right defensive tackle position. Will Harris, they picked up as well for the strong safety. They needed something back there. They still have Marshawn Lattimore at your corner. I am excited for what they've done. I give them an A right here, right now. No two ways about it. They've been that good.
Hey, I'm going to write that down. I like that they just said the NFC is winnable. We're right there.
Yep.
They were right there with the Eagles, or they have been right there with the Eagles. So why wait and, put together some convoluted 2 or 3 or 4 year plan? I like that they're going for it.
Yep.
It takes some stones, takes some investment, but I like that they're doing it. This one's a little simpler. I want you to grade the Jets offseason, but I really only want you to focus on the move off of Rodgers to sign Justin Fields for 2 years, $40 million, because that's kind of their offseason on top of hiring their coach. What do you think of that? What's your grade?
I say A. Their offseason's been an A. Now, they got Justin Fields, and I don't know what that's going to do and how that's going to pan out. But they brought in a guy that said, we're done with the BS, and we have to build a culture. And so that's what they're doing. There's a lot of things that I like about what they did, and it's basically it's the old adage is to get the tree to grow, you got to trim the branches, and that's what they did. So whether they're on the right path or not, I don't know. But one thing that they had to do was kind of get the locker room back and get the culture back, and that's what they did. And from what I understand, is Woody Johnson is now like, hey, you do what you got to do. I'm hands off, man. I'm not going to drive this train anymore. And he's now finally going to stay out of it. He's done chasing the jock. So now whether or not Justin Fields actually excels there, I don't know. I think Justin Fields, when Justin Fields came into the league, he had some promise. I never thought he was going to be that good coming out of Ohio State anyway. But I think what we've seen is he can play better and can be dynamic and still can do some really good things. But I think with, what is this now, like 7 coaches for him?
Yeah, not a lot of consistency for Justin Fields. Let's just say that.
7th offense is since he's been in the league. And I look at Justin Fields, and one of the comments was made when we were at Combine, when you talk about Justin Fields, is he's had a lot of bad ingrained into him. So you can ruin a quarterback. So even when he came into the league, if he had all this upside, like the upside's been diminished now. So unless you're a guru that can find something to pull all the good out of him and accentuate it, he is what he is. And I think he's going to add a dynamic. I think he's probably going to be one of the best rushing quarterbacks they've ever had. He's going to create some dynamic things. He's not going to really win you a lot of games, but he's probably not going to lose you a lot of games either. But I think for what they needed to do, at least to say, okay, let's cut off all the dead wood. Let's get back to maybe what we should have done to begin with. And so I give them an A, just to say we got to move on and it's time. This whole experience is completely just crap dead.
And I think getting off of some of that money from Aaron Rodgers and not continuing to kick the money, because I think if you're just weighing the quarterbacks, if you wanted a stopgap for a year to get you to the next guy,
right?
I still think Aaron's the better player and probably would serve that purpose better. But then you got to deal with a new head coach coming in and the quarterback's already there, and you don't want to put Aaron Glenn in that spot. That's not really Rodgers' fault. That's just the order of the transactions. Let's ask you about the Vikings, who apparently Aaron Rodgers really liked. They signed Jonathan Allen, Will Freeze, Ryan Kelly, Isaiah Rodgers, and they re-signed Byron Murphy and Aaron Jones. They only have 3 draft picks in next month's draft, so maybe that caused them to be a little bit more aggressive now. Who knows? Grade the Vikings offseason so far.
I would probably say a B-, C+, somewhere in there. I think they've done some good things. They solidified the center position. They solidified the right guard position. They wanted to make sure if you're going to throw a young guy back there at quarterback, you got to protect him. So that's one. It's not pretty, but that's what they did. They said, look, we still got Blake Brandel. We still got Christian Darrisaw that we can get out there at the left tackle position. We still have Brian O'Neill. We got the ability to protect him. So let's make sure we've got the best offensive line. We got a good offensive line so that a guy like Cam Akers, don't forget, who they picked up, who still could be there. Aaron Jones, Ty Chandler is your backup running back because you're probably going to need all 3 of them. We can be able to run the ball a little bit better. You still got Addison. You still got Jefferson. You still got Jalen Naylor. You still get TJ Hawkinson. At least now you've got a solid offensive line, and they bolstered the defense. They filled the holes without using up draft choices. Yeah, they only have 3, and look for them to trade back. But my guess is that they're going to make some moves and maybe pick up an extra draft choice along the way. But all the holes they needed to fill, they filled in the offseason. The only thing they don't have right now is a backup quarterback. And whoever ends up letting the dust settle around them, that's probably the direction they're going to go. I still don't think Rodgers is going there. I would say, like I said yesterday, 60% of me says Pittsburgh, 15% of me says New York, or 25% of me says New York, and then 15% of me says the Minnesota Vikings. And I would probably say, after like what you said and what I've heard today, I'd probably say 5% of me says the Minnesota Vikings before it's all said and done. But that's what I would give the grade for the Minnesota Vikings.
All right, let's do the Rams and the Niners quick. 2 NFC West teams before we take our break. They made the decision, the Rams did, to pay Stafford instead of trading him. They gave Atwell an extension, and they signed Devontae Adams for 2 years. Yeah. Their defense is young. All those guys are sticking around. Grade their offseason.
I think they're going to win the West. I'm picking them to win the West. So for the moves that they have made, I would say, B+. Devontae Adams is big because you put him alongside Puka Nacua. Now, I still don't know. As of right now, they have Cooper Kupp. They're still looking to move him. But when you look at it, you go Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, and Devontae Adams. That's a hell of a trio right there. They have Tyler Higbee, who is their tight end. Matthew Stafford, who I think was, to me, probably the biggest offseason move, was to get him settled in. They've got depth now at the offensive line position. And defensively, they picked up a nose tackle because the middle of their defense has not been the same. That defensive front has not been the same really since Von Miller left, even though Aaron Darnold is no longer there and called it a career. But they just needed to figure out ways to get with, and they still have, Cam Curl at the safety position. They still got Darius Williams back there. They still have Quentin Lake. I mean, they're not a staunch defense, but I think offensively they got enough to be able to score. So I like their moves. I'm going to give them a B-, C, somewhere in there, but I still think their moves are good.
They just didn't have to do as much as some of these other teams too.
And I look, Seattle got weaker, and they're on the rebuild without rebuilding. San Francisco has gutted that thing. Arizona is like the Pittsburgh Pirates. Until they win something, they haven't won anything. So I don't even consider Arizona. So the Rams are going to win the West, in my opinion, at least as of right now.
Lastly, do you have a grade for the Niners? They lost real quick. Debo, Juszczyk, Greenlaw, Charvarius Ward, Aaron Banks, Hufanga, Elijah Mitchell, and others. They freed up $277 million in cap space. Like that.
They have Brock Purdy and Christian McCaffrey. They still have Brandon Ayuk. They still have Ricky Pearsall. They still have Juwan Jennings. It's not like they're bereft of talent. Still Trent Williams is anchoring that offensive line, their big left tackle. They still got some offensive capability there. And as long as Christian McCaffrey is capable of running the football, they're going to be a team to deal with. Where they lost a lot was on the defensive side of the football, but they still have Nick Bosa. They still have Jordan Elliott in the middle. They still have Evan Anderson. They still have, Jair Brown in the secondary. They still got Mustafa back there. They've lost some guys, that I'll give you, but they also added some depth. But along the way, they're still a contending team with a lot of money to spend. So I'd probably give them a B- for what they've done. I don't expect them to win the West, but what I expect them to do within a year is to be able to turn it around. And I think going back to the conversations we had at Combine, which I now find so unbelievably foreshadowing in all of this, I kind of got the feeling this was coming, and the way they went about it while still keeping some key pieces without gutting everything, I think John Lynch has done a fantastic job.
I think they did the things they needed to do this offseason. Yes. So I would give them a good grade. And they got Robert Saleh back in the building.
And they got
That's a nice
Saleh
get. Fred Warner back healthy, and hopefully they're healthier next year as well, because they had a season from hell in terms of injuries. Yep. All right, that's a good report card.
So
well done.
All right, let's do this. We're going to go ahead and take a quick break. We're going to come back. We got a lot more of the Bill Michaels Show. Don't go anywhere. Stay tuned.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket, this is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Shape I'm in, I'm just like my fun every now and then. I'm always working, slaving every day.
Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Bill Michaels Show continuing on. Thanks for hanging out with us today. Speaking of hanging out, you got the pre-version of March Madness going on right now. A lot of the conference tournaments. I see the ACC tournament in the second round. I was watching a little bit of that. The Big 12 tournament's going on right now. You've got that Big 10 tournament getting underway. Big East tournament. Everybody's going. So if you're going to get out, you're going to spend any time out watching some of the games that are going on right now, you can always stop over to Stoley's Hog Alley. Stoley's Hog Alley in Lake Country, tremendous fish fry if you're going to go there on Friday nights, as the fish fries are now in full swing. Stoles Old 109 in Watertown, same thing. Same great food, just same great owners, just great place to go. Check it out. In Oconomowoc on Venice Beach Road is Stoley's Hog Alley, and I'm looking forward to the summertime and the upstairs patio deck and outside and everything when they open up the garage doors. Stoles Old 109, same thing on County Road R in Watertown, where they open up the garage doors and the outside comes in. It's awesome. And televisions everywhere. They have music that's up there. It'll all get going again this year for sure. Both places, Stoley's Hog Alley and Stoles 109, both owned by great people, great staff there as well, but really, really good fish fries and a terrific, terrific atmosphere. Check them both out. The grades that we gave out, some disagree, and that's okay. Some disagree. How can you say that the San Francisco 49ers did a really good job when all they did was get rid of all the talent? Well, it's because they didn't gut the team. They got rid of a lot of money on the team, and they're still competitive. They still have talent. If you look at the guys that they have around Brock Purdy, and Brock Purdy's about to get paid, but you still got Nick Bosa defensively, who can be a game wrecker. You still got Brandon Ayuk, who's really good. Ricky Pearsall, who's really good. Juwan
Fred Warner's still there on defense,
Fred Warner's
too.
There defensively. George Kittle is still your tight end. I didn't even mention him. And you still have Christian McCaffrey in the back and in the backfield. Offensively, you can go. You're still solid offensively. I'm not worried about that. I mean, I think when Deebo Samuel left, I think everybody just went, oh my God, woe is me. And that's not the case. And like you mentioned, you still have Fred Warner in the middle, who's a game wrecker. You got a game wrecker on the left defensive end, who is Nick Bosa. You're decent, not great, but decent in the secondary. You can still win games. And you still would have a legitimate shot maybe at winning the division. I think it's going to be between San Francisco and the Rams. I think the Rams are better. I think the Rams have done pretty well this offseason. But I think the Rams are going to win it. But it wouldn't surprise me if San Francisco ends up being a wild card this year. I don't think I see the Cardinals taking that massive step forward. I just don't. As much as people like Kyler Murray, again, what was one of their big signings? They picked up Jacoby Brissett, right? That's what they did.
Yeah, the Cardinals, yeah.
Yeah, they picked up Josh Sweat. Now they've got a legitimate guy rushing at the outside linebacker position. They still have Justin Jones. They picked up somebody else. I can't remember the guy they picked up from Cincinnati that they signed, because they've had 3 signings, 2 defensive. They got another linebacker, an outside linebacker. Never thought too highly of him to begin with. But they picked up another guy from Cincinnati. Baron Browning, okay. You know, they run a 3-4. They got Belial Nichols at their center position. But they still have Budda Baker back there playing center field, the free safety position. I can't remember their secondary, but they're still a decent team. Until they get over the hump and until Kyler Murray puts together a really spectacular season, because they paid that guy to do that, I'm still going to wait. I look forward for them. They still have Zay Jones. They still have Marvin Harrison Jr. They've got Michael Wilson. So I'm looking for Marvin Harrison Jr. to take that next step as well, because he had a pretty good season, but not a great season like everybody thought he would have. So if he takes now the next step, then that team could be viable too.
Well, and I like Kyler. I think he's actually one of the most fun players in football to watch when he's right. He's a little like Steph Curry in that, like, there's no one at that size with that skill set doing those things. It's very fun to watch.
Right.
What the Cardinals need is, like, we need you to be consistent from start to finish.
Right.
We can't have these super high highs and these super low lows, and then you're dealing with an injury. Like, we just need a consistent body of work. Because I actually think from everything that I've read, everyone really likes Jonathan Gannon. Players love that coach. I think they have some nice players. It seems like they're kind of stuck in this middle gear, because week to week, you don't really know what you're getting with Kyler.
That's exactly right. And you're right about Gannon, because they came off of the lowest of lows with Cliff Kingsbury when they ended up letting him go. And Kingsbury, it seemed like mentally he had offensively all the ability. It's just he never really got the team. Kingsbury just was the guy that was more of a really good offensive guy than he was. And there's guys that are like that. That's fine. You know, Ray Rhodes was a great defensive coordinator. He was just not a great head coach. Cliff Kingsbury, not a great head coach, but a really good offensive coordinator. I mean, look what he's done for Jaden Daniels. So there's ability there. But I agree with you that Kyler Murray has not achieved all the expectations as of yet. He's still got a lot of highness to him. 877-867-1670. Kenny Mack says trade Jair Alexander for Trey Hendrickson and a pick. Why in the world? Now, the only team in the world that I could see making that deal would be Cincinnati. Why in the world would Cincinnati make that trade? Unless Mike Brown just read about it somewhere in some web blog page and said, okay, let's make that trade.
He doesn't pay coaches. They don't let coaches go early because they don't want to pay money to someone who's not working there. Nope. They don't like dead cap. So why would they pay all that money for Jair who doesn't play?
No, not happening. Not happening. Yeah, that'll never happen. I mean, that's great to dream. And if you could do that, if that trade would happen, and I don't care how tight-fisted he is, that means they have some pictures of Mike Brown molesting a goat. Because that's the only way that deal happens. Otherwise, that deal never goes down. That's 877-867. And I'll tell you this, I don't think the Packers want to pay Trey Hendrickson. Trey Hendrickson wants to get paid. I don't think they want to pay him either. For as good as he has been, 35 sacks in the last 2 years, I don't think they want to pay him. Because he is looking for Max Crosby, Myles Garrett money. And there's not many teams out there that want to pay that kind of money. So I don't see that happening. They're not going to pay him that. 87, go ahead.
I was just going to say, least of all the team he's actually on. Like, right. He's probably on the least likely team in football to get that contract.
Right. Yeah. I mean, they paid they paid Joe Burrow. It sounds like, and if maybe I missed it, but it sounds like they're really close to finalizing a deal for their secondary wide receiver. So,
T. Higgins.
It sounds like they're close to a deal for T. Higgins. So they want to get those guys locked up. And for that matter, for everything that they're trying to do as far as keeping the trio together, so to speak, they're trying to wrap up Jamar Chase as well.
Well, it's wild because I need to see
money there between those three guys.
I need to see one of these players extended because, we can't extend T. Higgins because we got to prepare to extend Jamar Chase. And we can't give money to Trey Hendrickson because we're going to have to give it to T. Higgins. But no one's been given the money yet.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, all right, sign one of these extensions and then I'll start to follow and believe your logic a little bit.
Yeah, they are the Jerry Jones of stupidity in a lot of ways.
You know what's crazy about this offseason so far? Have you even thought or heard about the Cowboys once this week?
No,
they haven't come up. I've forgotten that they exist.
There was a meme that said the Cowboys have not spent more than $6 million in free agency since like 2015. It's because Jerry just says, well, we signed our own. That's our free agent pickups. We signed our own.
We waited forever to do it and we overpaid for him, but we signed our own.
By the way, speaking of Cincinnati, they are Green Bay South because they picked up TJ Slayton and Oren Burks. So TJ Slayton is their new right defensive tackle or nose tackle, although they play more. I think they're a 4-3 group. So he would be, your right defensive tackle. But he's trying to pick up where DJ Reader left off when Reader left and went to the Lions, who really anchored their defensive front. They believe TJ Slayton can be that guy and take over for Chris Jenkins, who has not been good. And then Oren Burks is now one of their linebackers. So there you go. 877-867-1670. Hit us up. Got a lot more of the Bill Michaels Show right around the corner. Don't go anywhere. Stay tuned.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
You can accomplish quite a lot in 6 years. You go from changing diapers to dropping your child off at school. College, you can get a bachelor's and a master's degree. And you can take up to 6 years to pay off your brand new Pella windows and doors at 0% interest. Hi, it's Gina Della from Pella. With Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin, you get so much more than stunning windows and doors. You get the Pella experience. Talk about quality control. Pella manufactures, sells, installs, and services every product. A 10-year labor warranty is always included, so your windows and doors are secure for years to come. Our expert installers are available year-round and can install in as little as a day. If something ever goes wrong, Pella will handle it ASAP because you work with the same team from start to finish. Oh my gosh, why wait? Get the Pella experience in this incredible deal. 0% interest for up to 6 6 years on brand new Pella windows and doors. Set your free in-home consultation today at PellaWI.com.
Certain restrictions apply. Ends 3/8/25.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back. The Bill Michaels Show. 2 hours flew by just like that. By the way, Isaac Trotter, 24/7 Sports coming up after the top of the hour. We'll talk some NFL. Good stuff. Good stuff coming up. We're going to be discussing everything that has gone on and then all the rumors and all that kind of good stuff that are still floating around out there, and what may or may not happen for the former quarterback of the Green Bay Packers, where the Packers stand when it comes to filling the holes for the outside edge rusher. And in addition to that, we'll get into all of that a little bit later. Isaac Trotter, by the way, college basketball. We're going to talk with him about college basketball. So I'm kind of getting ahead of myself, but we're going to talk about all that stuff coming up because there's which, by the way, college basketball in full swing. If you have not enjoyed some of the college basketball tournaments that are going on right now, man, you haven't been paying attention. There's been some good ones. I mean, I know there was a buzzer beater last night with the Bucks and the Pacers, but there have been some good ones going on. It's been fun to watch. And I don't know why, but I do like watching college basketball as much as I do like watching the NBA, but I love watching the minor tournaments, the minor conferences with the tournaments. It's so much fun to watch. So I've been really, really, really enjoyed that. when it comes to the conference tournament. So anyway.
Another option, by the way, sorry to interrupt, off the board for the Packers.
Yes.
I'm not going to act like this was everyone's dream, but I thought it was kind of possible. MVS is signing with the Seahawks on a 1-year deal worth $5.5 million.
There you go.
Take him off the board.
Scanning, up the grade or down the grade, depending on how you look at MVS, if he still has the drops. But, oh well. What else do we have here? You got, this is Chris saying, hey, by any chance you're paying attention to the ACC tournament? I'm not, but I know Georgia Tech and Virginia, I think it's at the half. I think they're tied. The last I checked. Later on today, you got Notre Dame and North Carolina, so that's going to be a good one.
And Badgers fans, I'm sure Isaac can speak to this when he joins us in a couple minutes, but we got to cheer for Cincinnati to beat Iowa State, right? Because Iowa State's also in contention to probably play in Milwaukee. So that's a game that I think is starting, if not already, it's starting it. It's right now.
Yeah. Right now. Cincinnati was down. Last I saw, they were down by 7. At one point in the game, it was 0-0. With like a minute or two into the game, it was still 0-0. Nobody was hitting a bucket. So it was kind of funny. Like Cincinnati, they're a terrible basketball team. They're awful. But you've got coming up today in the Big Ten, 2:30, Northwestern and Minnesota. You got Iowa and Ohio State tonight at 5, and then USC and Rutgers coming up later on tonight. And then obviously tomorrow, Wisconsin is going to go at it. Indiana and Oregon are going to be playing. That's 11 o'clock tomorrow morning. The Badgers, the game after that, 1:30. You also have Marquette playing Xavier tomorrow at 1:30 as well. So you got games we'll be paying attention to as we're still on the air. Purdue has got the TBD that is left as well, and so does Illinois when it comes to the Big Ten tournament. But there you go. So that's where we're at with college hoops. Good stuff. We're going to talk more college hoops when we come back. Don't go anywhere. Talk some college basketball. We got a lot going on. This fast. Boom. 2 hours are down. We got 2 more yet to go. More of the Bill Michaels Show coming at you right after this.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, Wisconsin is headed to Indianapolis today. It's where they're going to open up play in the Big Ten tournament tomorrow. They don't know who their opponent will be just yet. They're going to find that out later today when Northwestern and Minnesota play. But they do know they'll get Max Klesmit back in the lineup, whoever it is. He's missed the last 3 games with a lower leg injury. Badgers have lost 2 of those, including to a woeful Penn State squad last Saturday. Coach Greg Gard knows how big getting Klesmit back is to his team's chances of making a deep run in this tournament and next week in the NCAA tournament.
That edge that you talked about, and he definitely brings that to our team, and that's an important piece. I mean, combined with the other people around him, right, the personalities, and it's the right fit. It's maybe the vacancy that we missed when he was out, so to speak, because it's hard to duplicate that or replicate that.
Again, the Badgers will get the winner of Northwestern and Minnesota tomorrow afternoon. Tip should be right around 2:30 in Indy. Turn to the Bucks. They have lost 3 straight after a controversial 4-point play against Indiana last night cost them a chance to get to overtime. They're going to be back at home tomorrow to face the Lakers at Fiserv Forum.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
Rural Mutual is the #1 farm insurer in Wisconsin for a good reason. As a company founded by farmers, they understand the ag industry and its challenges. Local agents offer farm families the best advice and personalized coverage. Visit ruralmutual.com to find an agent near you.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
Well, the Packers can make the signings of guard Aaron Banks and quarterback Nate Hobbs official today as the new league year begins. Also reported yesterday that former first-round pick Eric Stokes agreed to a 1-year deal with the Raiders, and Wisconsin can open spring practice tomorrow in Madison. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heil.
You learn from it and you quickly move on, because this time of year, you know, we are going to reinvent the wheel. Let's move on. We got to get better in some areas. We worked on some of that yesterday, more today, but that would have been the point of focus regardless of the result on Saturday.
Welcome back. Good to have you. The Bill Michaels Show. We continue on Enjoying our day today as we continue on. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. You want to find us, please feel free. Go ahead and do so. Again, 877-867-1670. You can find us in many different facets there, or another great way to get a hold of us, you can text us, 608-321-1670, 608-321-1670. And track us down that way as well. So plenty of ways to find us. You can also email the program. Email us. That's thebillmichaels@gmail.com, thebillmichaels@gmail.com. And you can also find us a lot of different facets as well. Even take us anywhere and everywhere. And that is over on the app, WOZN, The Zone Madison. And you can track us down there, WOZN, The Zone Madison. Take us anywhere and everywhere. That way, you can find us on YouTube. Go to youtube.com/Bill Michael Show, youtube.com/Bill Michael Show. And you can track us down that way as well. So plenty of ways to stay in touch with the program. And we always appreciate you being here. Let's do this. It's time to talk some college hoops for that matter, and get into that discussion a little bit. Joining us now on the hotline, Isaac Trotter, 24/7 Sports. Good to have you as always. Isaac, how you doing today?
Doing well. How about you?
We're good. This is kind of like your Christmas time right now, right? With tourney time and conference tournaments and such going on, and who's going to be ended up shifting in the brackets. And we know we're watching Wisconsin, whether or not they're going to end up with a seed that's going to be favorable to keeping them in Milwaukee. And so all of that. Christmas time for you, right?
This is the best. Like I'm just so excited about like the next couple of days here. It's basketball constantly, and the other thing I like is just daytime hoops. What's better than that? I could get some work done with a bunch of games on. Yesterday was a little bit gross. If you were watching games yesterday, I think teams combined to miss about 1,000 3-pointers. Just one of the worst offensive days in the history of college basketball this season. Teams were shooting very poorly, which means that we got it out of our system, and now that the good teams will play, we'll have a little bit more high-quality hoops to watch.
Let's start with Marquette and the way their season has gone. They got off such an incredibly fast start, and then it seems like as time went on, teams kind of figured out Cam Jones. If you can kind of slow him down and not let him beat you, they clamped down around him and made it really difficult. And they had a couple of losses down the stretch, some inexplicable losses down the stretch. And it doesn't mean they don't play really great defense, but it seemed like offensively they struggled if teams were able to kind of slow down Cam Jones. Give me your thoughts on Marquette heading into the tournament.
Yeah, they're one of the most heliocentric teams in the country. And just like it feels like it is all on Cam's kind of shoulders to get them great looks offensively. I'm really concerned about the rebounding. That is something that continues to pop up night in and night out. Teams just crushing them on the offensive glass. And, they try to win the shot volume game by winning the turnover battle, but when you can't rebound, that's caused some issues. And now we head into Xavier and the Big East tournament quarterfinals on Thursday. This is not the best time to catch Xavier. Xavier has been the best team in the Big East since February 1st, just absolutely rolling. They've only lost one game during that span. They're playing at a really high level. They're desperate trying to get into the NCAA tournament. So I think we're going to learn a lot about this Marquette group. Now, granted, Xavier isn't a super physical, awesome offensive rebounding team as well. So maybe that could play into Marquette's favor a little bit, where their biggest flaw isn't necessarily hurt by Xavier. So it'll be a really, really good game. That's honestly probably the most exciting first round game that I'm excited about in conference tournament week, just because of the ramifications for, is Marquette going to prove that to be, a group that could get in that 6 seed range or a 5 seed range, or should we start talking about Xavier as a team that could really make a serious run?
And they beat Xavier by 2 down there at the Cintas Center, and they got beat by Xavier here at the Fiserv Forum in Milwaukee. And they struggled at that point in time. Xavier clamped them down. Again, one of those teams that said, okay, look, we're going to take Cam Jones out of the mix, and the rest of you get a chance to beat us. And they couldn't. And they had opportunities down the stretch, but Xavier was just too strong and got a good road win. When you talk about being one of the hotter teams down the stretch, they got a good road win here at the Fiserv Forum just about a month ago.
Yeah, they did. And you know what? I thought the defensive strategy from Xavier in that game was excellent. They put their big man, Zach Fremantle, basically planted him on Stevie Mitchell and let him try to shoot as many shots as he wanted. Didn't really let him, they dared him to make shots, and that kind of worked. I think Stevie Mitchell had 11 attempts in that game, and that's just not his game. So I'm curious to see how much Xavier will use that exact same strategy and maybe more importantly, what Marquette has as wrinkles when an opposing team puts their center on a guard like Stevie Mitchell.
What do you think that game, that loss did to Marquette? Because they had St. John's. They could have beat St. John's. The ball was in their hands, and they could have beat St. John's, and they let it slip through their fingers. What do you think that loss meant? Does that loss mean a demoralizing loss to the way their season ended, or is that one of those, hey, we just went toe-to-toe with one of the better teams in the country, that we can get this done, that they then come out of that with a lot of confidence?
Yeah, I actually kind of left that game a little bit more encouraged because Cam starts to look like Cam again, right? Like 32 points, 9 rebounds, 7 dimes, only had 2 turnovers against one of the best defenses in the country. And yeah, it took him 30 shots to get there, which is an absurd number, but like he was carving up St. John's for a minute, and that's really hard to do. So if you can get him rolling again, that would be huge. You know, the David Joplin roller coaster is just kind of is what it is at this point. Sometimes he's going to make 3 threes, and sometimes he's going to go 0 for 6, and it feels like you're not really sure exactly what you're getting from him. But can you continue to get more from Ben Gold? Zayd Lowry, can you continue to see him emerge off the bench? Like, I think, this team feels a little thin, and it's like it's Cam and it's Chase Ross and it's David Joplin who have to play huge minutes, and Stevie Mitchell has to play huge minutes. I really do think some of these youngsters, whether it's a Royce Barham or a Zayd Lowry, those 2 guys could really control how far Marquette goes, not only in the Big East tournament, but also in the NCAA tournament when, you just can't ride with 4 guys, it feels like, in advance.
So let's go to a team that stumbled a little bit into the postseason. That's the Wisconsin Badgers. They obviously had a couple losses down the stretch. The Oregon loss was somewhat surprising, but then to lose to Penn State at home, senior day. Now they got to go into the tournament. They got to make that ground back up. They got to get themselves a couple of wins and solidify a spot here in Milwaukee. I thought they struggled, but it also looked to me like they were a little lethargic, or maybe they thought they would roll the basketballs out, get a win against Penn State, and then cruise right into the Big Ten tournament.
I kind of went with you. It was one of those situations where it felt like this group's starting to really miss Max Klesmit. You're kind of forced to play Jack Janicki a little bit more. You're kind of forced to play Kamari McGee even more. And those 2 guys have been really solid role players for you, but Max Klesmit is, I think one of the best 4 players on this team, especially with what he can bring to you defensively and also just another shot maker that can handle it a little bit. Like they just need him. And so I think getting him back for the Big Ten tournament would help. I think it also would just get everybody back into the role that they're good at. It gets Kamari McGee coming back off the bench as like that energy guy who's going to play with exceptional effort on the ball defensively. It gets Janicki playing maybe more closer to 15 minutes instead of 22, 23 minutes. I just think it works everything out a little bit easier. You're not playing the Cam Hunter minutes. So yeah, I'm kind of flushing that Penn State game too, just because Penn State got red hot from 3. They made 11 of 19 threes, easily one of their best shooting performances of the season. And I think we'll see Wisconsin kind of head into the Big Ten tournament with a little bit more vinegar, right? Salt and vinegar after probably some gross practices and a little bit of Greg Gard being like having a little bit of ammunition to tell them that they're not as good as they thought they were. But yeah, I'm not overly concerned about this group. I think once you get Max back and get him back rolling, I still think Wisconsin causes a lot of problems for teams offensively.
Where do you think Wisconsin ends up? Do they climb back into that seed in which they can solidify themselves to stay in Milwaukee, or do you think they end up somewhere else?
Yeah, I think that they're going to probably be closer to the 4 range than the 3 range. I think if they could, like if the committee would love, I think to put them in Milwaukee, probably with like an Iowa State as well. That pairing makes a lot of sense to me, but I think they're probably going to be closer to a 4. Now, my colleagues at CBS Sports, they still have Wisconsin at that 3 line, and it's close. So I think right now you're kind of watching, like, what does Iowa State do in the Big 12 tournament today? Like, they're just tipping off today against Cincinnati. Like, what does Texas A&M do? That's another group that could potentially fall down to the 4. But, yeah, this draw for Wisconsin in the Big 10 tournament isn't necessarily easy either, because you're factoring in, like, a chance to play, a Minnesota or Northwestern. Both of those 2 teams are very scrappy and tough in that first round. Then right after that, it's like a UCLA team. That's another tough, scrappy team. So it's like, it feels like Wisconsin's at a spot where if they could potentially string a couple wins together, I think they're back in the 3, and I think they're back in Milwaukee. And I'm going to be coming up to Milwaukee. That means I'm probably watching the Badgers play in front of a really, really like home court advantage in that first round. But it also kind of depends on what Texas A&M and Iowa State do here in their respective conference tournaments.
Depending on what happens with Marquette, where do you think they end up?
The more I look at them, I think they're a 7, and that's just kind of where I think they're going to end up being. Just when you kind of factor in everything with their resume, I think a 7 also makes sense, just because maybe it's just my bias, but like anecdotally, it feels like you kind of want to be at the bottom of the bracket. You don't necessarily want to be closer to the top. So if you're at that 7 range, like, you could put yourself in position to go up against a Michigan State as a 2 seed with a chance to go to the Sweet 16. And Marquette, Michigan State, that would be a really interesting battle for me stylistically. So I think like I'd rather play a Michigan State or a Tennessee in that round of 32 than have to reckon with that top of the bracket where it feels like Auburn, Houston, Duke, and Florida have certainly cemented themselves as all-time number 1 seed.
Hey, I don't want to get too deep, but give me your thoughts on Shaka Smart, because there's I don't think Shaka Smart's leaving anytime soon. I think they're paying him pretty good at Marquette. But if he keeps winning and doing good things here, at what point do you think we get another college or two that starts to look over that fence, especially in the realm of, the way players are now being paid, to say, hey, look, this guy's young, he's energetic, he can go get it, he can do things, he can continue to build a larger program with a bigger budget, we'll say. Give me your thoughts on Shaka Smart.
Well, I just don't think you should mess with Happy. And I think Shaka's found a really nice niche with what Marquette is. And I think Marquette has actually sneaky good money compared to some of the other teams in the college basketball ecosystem. Not having to share with football is certainly a factor with that. The Big East has done a really good job with their TV deals to continue to get money. So I just don't think money is going to be an issue. There's no doubt that he's going to have interest from teams. I mean, when you've led Marquette to 4 straight NCAA tournaments, like that's going to definitely put you on the map. I mean, they're one of the top premier programs of development year after year. But I just think he's going to stay. I think he's found a really good fit there for him and his family. I think he's well paid. I think the money that he has there for NIL is really good. We've seen that with retention, right? Year after year, they're able to keep guys because the offers are very competitive. So I think he stays, and I think Marquette has something good that they can kind of work together for the next decade or so. But, you never know how college basketball coaches are. It fluctuates year after year so much.
With the stumbling down the stretch, does Auburn keep the number 1 overall seed?
I think they do. Yeah, the resume metrics for them are just ridiculous. They have so many quadrant 1 wins. They really don't have any bad losses. So Duke might be, the number 1 team on KenPom and some of those predictive rankings, but I think the committee is going to lean with who has the best resume for the number 1 overall seed, and that's an Auburn group. I mean, 16 quadrant 1 wins, like just the stuff that they've done this year from a resume perspective is just a story. You look back at that non-conference play, the teams they've beaten there, it's insane. And then they've rolled through one of the best conferences in college basketball history in the SEC. So I think they're number 1.
You got 2 coaches this week. Larinaga steps down from Miami and basically says, look, the NIL, it's killed college sports. I can't do this anymore. I'm getting out of here. Danny Hurley says, look, we win a championship. Half my team wants to leave because they want to get paid somewhere else. At what point do we see the NCAA, these colleges try to wrap their arms back around this and either make these guys and girls contracted players, or what do you see happening? Because you're going to see probably more and more coaches say, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah, I think collective bargaining is definitely the next biggest step for a lot of teams. I think it's time, right? This is like college basketball is not amateur hour anymore. Like there's serious money going into this. And I think that they need to be, rewarded for that. And so I think we're going to start to see contracts. We're going to see collective bargaining. We're going to see revenue sharing with the TV money that's coming in. And I think just adding more guidelines. So it's not the wild, wild west in the portal, which conveniently opens in 12 days. Right. I think that will certainly help these things. I just think it's only a matter of time until we have legit revenue sharing and legit contracts that at least lock these players in for multiple years. And if you leave, you have to pay a buyout, just like the coaches do when they have to leave for a different job.
What happens? What is the tipping point to where they say this is serious? We have to take care of this, because it seems like the NCAA in general is very slow to react. And had the NCAA just acquiesced in the beginning, I think this all would not have gotten to this point. But at what point, what is going to be the tipping point for them to say, okay, we're done. We have to get to collective bargaining, or we got to get attorneys involved?
Yeah, it's now or never. And I think we've already started to see that process already in play, like in the court system. I think the NCAA was hesitant for a while just because they liked their model, which frankly was very profitable for the NCAA, just reeling in money over and over and over again. So I understood it from a financial standpoint, why they tried to keep pushing the student athlete thing and the scholarship type of deal and the things that has made the NCAA pockets very rich over the last, handful of decades. So I do think it's only a matter of time. Like there's a lot of court proceedings going on even right now and just figuring out eligibility things. And I think we just need, flat benchmarks. So whether that's 5 years to play, collective bargaining, contracts, all of these things, like it just has to be a little bit more legit, because you're right. Like this whole era where it feels like the season ends and every single player has to, put out a graphic saying I'm back to make sure everybody knows if they're not entering the portal. It's like, this is not sustainable long term.
Isaac, great stuff. And when the tournament comes out next week, we're going to get you back so we can break it all down before this thing gets underway for real. Okay?
Sounds good. Thanks for having me.
There you go. Isaac Trotter joining us for a couple of minutes. Hope you enjoyed it. We got a lot more to come. Stay tuned. The Bill Michaels Show going to be happening when we return. So we got all that coming up. Isaac Trotter, really, really good stuff. Great to talk to him and kind of pick his brain a little bit. I like the fact that he said, hey, look, if you get disrespected a little bit and you go down to a 7-seed Marquette, don't feel bad about it, because that's not a bad road to go when you talk about advancing in the tournament. So you actually can do a little damage that way. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends at Cousin Subs. Cousin Subs, where they believe in better. Tonight, ton of work around the house. Got a lot of stuff coming up. Tonight's a Cousin Subs night. Unless I get crazy and go down and see my buddy Paul Roberts at Robert's Specialty Meats, one of the two. But Cousins, I've been craving the pepperoni melt. I haven't done it in a while. Pepperoni melt, extra mayo, extra cheese. Otherwise, you go to Cousin Subs, you look at their lineup of everything that they have. Cousin Subs got something for everybody. And they are a big supporter of our motorcycle ride. They are a big supporter of everything we do when it comes to the Big Unit Gala as well. And they're just good people. A lot of good stuff there. So thanks to our friends at Cousin Subs for being a part of the program. Thanks to Cousin Subs for putting their money where their mouth is. And whether you go in and you get the Italian, you get the turkey, you get something healthy. They've got the catch of the day as well. You can order that online. All kinds of good stuff. And don't forget, catering made simple. No matter the size of your group, they got you covered. That's our friends at Cousin Subs.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
You can accomplish quite a lot in 6 years. You go from changing diapers to dropping your child off at school. College, you can get a bachelor's and a master's degree. And you can take up to 6 years to pay off your brand new Pella windows and doors at 0% interest. Hi, it's Gina Della from Pella. With Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin, you get so much more than stunning windows and doors. You get the Pella experience. Talk about quality control. Pella manufactures, sells, installs, and services every product. A 10-year labor warranty is always included, so your windows and doors are secure for years to come. Our expert installers are available year-round and can install in as little as a day. If something ever goes wrong, Pella will handle it ASAP because you work with the same team from start to finish. Oh my gosh, why wait? Get the Pella experience in this incredible deal. 0% interest for up to 6 years on brand new Pella windows and doors. Set your free in-home consultation today at PellaWI.com.
Certain restrictions apply. Ends 3/8/25.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back. The Bill Michaels Show. We continue on. Gotta say thanks to our friends at Skipper Buds. I know it's sunny. I know it's warmer. I know I can't wait to get my boat back out of the water. Maybe you're thinking about it as well. So whether it's parts and accessories, maybe getting it serviced and summarized, ready to go, or maybe you're looking for a boat. Maybe you're thinking about those nice men cruising around out there, watching the sunset via a pontoon. Maybe just out there laying out in the sun, hanging out. Maybe you're going to do a little fishing, whatever it happens to be, whether it's a ski boat, pontoon boat. If you're thinking about a fishing boat, you can go in so many different areas. Skipper Buds has something for everybody, new and pre-owned. And I just saw some of the pictures, specifically the one in Pewaukee that has so much in their showroom, specifically when it comes to some of the big cruisers and pontoons. Check out Skipper Buds, 262-544-1200, right there in the Pewaukee, Waukesha area, 262-544-1200. That's Skipper Buds. Check them out, boat sales, service, and storage. But better yet, you know the GM. Ask for Todd. Say, Todd, hey, got some things I'm thinking about. This is what I want to do. Can you help me out? And he'll get you all set up. Todd's a great guy over there. And they've got I was just over there driving past there. I shouldn't say over there, but driving past there 2 days ago. And they got boat upon boat upon boat lined up outside that they're unloading and now putting into their either showroom or into the storage area in the back. But they have got a huge inventory and a big pre-owned inventory as well. Skipper, and they still have some boat show sale prices that are still there. So go to Skipper Buds and check them out. Call them 262-544-1200. That's 262-544-1200. All right. Let's do this. The Green Bay, but we talked about the grades for other teams in the NFL, right? We went through that whole list. What do you give the Packers? What grade would we give the Packers? So if we sat down and we said, okay, let's analyze this, like we did with other teams, in all honesty, what grade would you give the Green Bay Packers? The Packers, for all intents and purposes, they haven't done it officially, but Jair Alexander, most likely going to be gone, right? TJ Slayton, gone. There you go. TJ Slayton's out. They haven't, Josh Myers, their starting center. But then they bolstered themselves at the center position basically by moving Elton Jenkins down and then bringing in the newest addition when you talk about making some deals in the free agent market, which they did do, Aaron Banks, I should say, who they brought in from San Francisco. And then they go to the secondary and Nate Hobbs, who you would assume is going to slide in either to the nickel back or because it depends on what happens. Keyshawn Nixon, don't forget, Keyshawn Nixon wants to be cornerback one. Is Keyshawn Nixon your number one cornerback right now, Grant, do you think?
That's a great question. I think some weeks he might be. The more that I read about this corner that they it's Hobbs, right? Yep. Nate Hobbs. I keep wanting to say Nate Oates. I'm really struggling to fully commit both of these names to memory. But with Hobbs, I think week by week it could change. That's what Bill Huber reported yesterday. Right. 1 week he might be in the slot. Another week he might play the boundary. So as of right now, Nixon is your cornerback one. But that might not be the case every week. And if they draft the guy high, that guy might be cornerback one. Right. I think it's very fluid.
So you have Javon Bullard, who they were really high on and played pretty well. Evan Williams really started to come on before he went down with the injury. 4th-round draft choice. You bring in Nate Hobbs. You still got Corey Valentine and Valentine both back there. Don't forget, you still have Xavier McKinney. I'm not saying they're deep and they are shut down by any stretch of the imagination. But it's not bad. Put it that way. Like some people are making it out to be just this is a train wreck and they have done nothing to bolster them. And that's not true. Now, Hobbs obviously comes into the organization with some injury issues. And you hope that he's able to remain healthy and actually be fortifying back there in the secondary. But that being said, you're still kind of waiting to see. Now, Corey Valentine, I know, free agent right now. So whether or not you bring him back, we'll have to wait and see. But you got Zane Anderson, who is a hitter, and I like him back there because he likes to stick his nose in there. I like what Javon Bullard brought to the table, and maybe he takes that next step forward. The same thing with a guy like Evan Williams, but Xavier McKinney's still anchoring back there. And I'm not panicky about the secondary. What I'm concerned about right now is the depth. And if you still have the ability to find another number one guy, then that's great. Maybe you get him in the draft. Maybe you find somebody else that's one of those, June 1st cuts. Who knows? But I'm not fretting about it. I still worry about the defense. I still look at the defense overall and say, who is your game wrecker? Who is your game wrecker? And as of right now, I mean, let's be honest, they don't have one. I know Brian Gutekunst's down. When we talked to him down at the Combine, he was all about Lucas Van Ness taking the next step. Talk about how optimistic he is. And my question would have been, what makes you believe that? He works out hard in the offseason. He's committed. You can go through the whole laundry list of things that he's doing. But what did you see last year? And we know he had a thumb injury, and it made it difficult for him to move offensive linemen around, and he was setting the edge more so than anything, and I understand all of that. But what makes you think you've got a game wrecker on your hands? And does that mean Rashawn Gary's going to take another step coming off of that injury 2 years removed? Because he started to play pretty well towards the end of the season. But you also lost TJ Slayton, one of your big rotational beef bodies up front. Or does the game wrecker now become Edrin Cooper, who began to jump off the page as the season went on? Even though he still had some rookie mental mistakes, he really played well, and probably some of his best football came out of Quay Walker before he got hurt last year. So am I sitting here with my green and gold glasses on trying to talk myself into believing that this defense just by attrition is going to be better? But I guess my question is, from the beginning of the week to where we are today, is this defense better, the same, or worse? And I'd probably say they're about the same. They're about the same, which is still, in many categories, top 13, defensively speaking. But do we have the ability to look at them and say, when you got to get the big stuff and you got to win a game and you got to close it down, do they have the ability to do that? Yes or no? And I still don't think they do. Offensively speaking, we know Christian Watson isn't coming back anytime soon. So they still need the speed guy. They still need somebody that can really kind of take the lid off of a defense, and they don't have that. I still love, offensively speaking, what they have in the backfield. I love the tight end with Luke Musgrave and Tucker Kraft. I think offensive line has gotten better because now they've got beefier dudes up front, even though you take Josh Myers out of the mix. Elton Jenkins, big beefy dude, road grader. Banks, road grader. You've got some guys now up front. Sean Ryan fast became a really good guard. Zach Tom became one of the better right tackles in the division, in the league, if you want to go in that direction, even though you didn't think he'd be that guy, but he's really turned out to be a tenacious player on the right side. So offensive line, I think they're solidified. They were really good at pass blocking last year, not as good at run blocking, but you figure they just got better. So are they good? Are they better? Are they worse? Are they the same? I look at this team right now and I think a lot of it, I think they're the same team. I don't think they got much better. I don't think they got much worse. But I don't think they have the ability to beat the elite. And the elite were Detroit and Minnesota. And they barely got by Chicago, who has gotten a lot better in the trenches. So even though the Packers might have stayed the same talent-wise, they actually took a step back in the division, in my opinion.
I also think you can count on this team probably more than others to just improve internally because they're so young, right? So I think you could maybe bet on a guy like Jaden Riederwicks, and they're totally banking on it. And I think the question is maybe whether or not they're banking on it too much, because you talk about game breakers. I think this offense is good enough to be in a game with anybody. And I think this defense is good enough to be in a game. You're going to be in the game at the end against the best teams.
Right.
Where's the game breaker on defense to make the one huge play to win a game, or on offense, right? I'm not sure that they have those guys right now. In fact, I'm pretty darn sure they don't have those guys right now, or they haven't up until this point.
Because they are basically the same team, maybe a little better. I'd probably say B minus C plus so far. Is that a fair grade for where they're at? Because you didn't get worse, you didn't get better. I mean, I guess if you're not getting dramatically better in the National Football League, you are getting worse. But as it stands today, I would probably say that they're about the same. So you'd probably say C, which is average.
O-line and corner were near the bottom of my list of positions that needed to be addressed in free agency, but it's hard to give them much more than like a B minus because they invested, they got a corner who's great depth, and they invested in their O-line, and it's hard to fault a GM for that. So maybe they could have better allocated those resources, but it's not like they sat on their hands, right? They went out and invested, and they improved their team, even if it's not exactly what you thought or wanted.
Exactly. 877-867-6070. You want to hit us up, please feel free to go ahead and do so. We're going to step away. The Bill Michaels Show. We're going to continue. More coming up right after this. Stay right where you're at. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends at Calderon Club and right there, San Giorgio as well. Both places are fantastic. Downtown Milwaukee, 838 Old World 3rd Street. Best Italian food. You're going to stick and you'll grill. Whether it's the spaghetti and meatballs, which, by the way, the meatballs, award-winning yet again. Award-winning yet again. How about the chicken marsala, which is, it's like a white cream sauce. It's not the heavy or the light gravy. It's a heavy cream sauce, and it's so good. It's worth it. Just unbutton your pants and call it a day. They have got lighter fare. They've even got some steaks, in case you didn't know. Thin crust pizza that has been award-winning also. But they have got a lot of great appetizers. The bruschetta is fantastic. They have got calamari. They have got really, really good eggplant down there for an appetizer. Great stuff. Then on the San Giorgio side of things, authentic Napolitana pizzeria pizza and so many other gourmet dishes. Both places are fantastic. Both places distinctly different as well. 838 Old World 3rd Street, downtown Milwaukee, right across the street from the Hyatt Hotel. If you're coming into town checking out, say, the conference games or the March Madness games, if you're going to do that, maybe an Admirals game, or if you're heading downtown to see the Brewers, whatever it happens to be, whatever kind of summer event you got going on, stop at Calderon Club on Old World 3rd Street, San Giorgio, right next door. Tell Gino we said hi.
Ready? This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
You can accomplish quite a lot in 6 years. You go from changing diapers to dropping your child off at school. College, you can get a bachelor's and a master's degree. And you can take up to 6 years to pay off your brand new Pella windows and doors at 0% interest. Hi, it's Gina Della from Pella. With Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin, you get so much more than stunning windows and doors. You get the Pella experience. Talk about quality control. Pella manufactures, sells, installs, and services every product. A 10-year labor warranty is always included, so your windows and doors are secure for years to come. Our expert installers are available year-round and can install in as little as a day. If something ever goes wrong, Pella will handle it ASAP because you work with the same team from start to finish. Oh my gosh, why wait? Get the Pella experience in this incredible deal. 0% interest for up to 6 years on brand new Pella windows and doors. Set your free in-home consultation today at PellaWI.com.
Certain restrictions apply. Ends 3/8/25.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
We are here. We're glad you're here as well. Certainly appreciate the swinging by. The Bill Michaels Show. We continue on this portion of the program brought to you by the Nice Ash Cigar Bar. Downtown Waukesha on Main Street. They have live music every Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Huge walk-in humidor, and if you're a whiskey or a bourbon fan, they have that as well. And again, 323 West Main Street, downtown Waukesha. That is The Nice Ash, THE, theniceash.com, theniceash.com. And I always got something good going on down there. Welcome back to the program, Bill Michaels Show. So here's something to think about. When you start to look at all these deals that have gone on, I mean, you look at a guy like, say, Howie Roseman. He ends up trading away Kenny Pickett off to the Browns, kind of fleecing the Browns a little bit. He's always got an offensive and defensive line that are really, really good. That team, for all intents and purposes, believe they have gotten better than what they were during their Super Bowl run this past season. They're still good up front. Although they've got some pieces that maybe they lost along the way, they still feel like they're ready to go in a big contender. The Colts going all in on Daniel Jones. I thought Daniel Jones ends up signing in Indianapolis. Now, I don't know who the other candidates were to go there, but the signing of Daniel Jones, two things. First of all, it tells you that Sean Richardson, who was basically put on notice last year after he got benched for walking off the field on a third down because he was tired, he's on notice. And Daniel Jones is going to be their answer. Now, Daniel Jones, we know, had one good season with Saquon Barkley behind him. They go into Minnesota. They get a playoff win. Brian Daboll was the coach of the year, and everything else comes crashing down after they paid Daniel Jones and didn't pay Saquon Barkley, okay? But Daniel Jones has not done anything since then. And yet the Colts go out and invest in Daniel Jones, which I find rather interesting. So to me, it's either other quarterbacks that were on the market didn't want to go there and didn't really want to negotiate with them, or they targeted Daniel Jones as just merely a backup. But they say he's coming in to compete with Sean Richardson for the starting position. So I find that whole situation down there really bizarre in Indianapolis.
I'm trying to think, maybe Daniel Jones was like, who is the best possible quarterback we could bring in that we still think Anthony Richardson will beat out in a quarterback competition?
Right?
You know what I mean? Like, let's get the best possible guy who still isn't as good as Richardson.
Right.
Because they invested a top 5 pick in him. It's not like they can just move off him on a whim.
Richardson has talent, but boy, when you watched him play last year, that arm talent was nowhere. The accuracy of the arm talent was nowhere near where it needed to be. Nowhere near where one of two things is going to happen. And in situations like this, you usually see it. You're either going to swing in one direction where you take all your errors, all your humiliation, all of your giant humble pie, and you turn it into motivation to get better, and you do, or you can't figure it out. And you just, the synapse between your brain and your arm just don't get it, and you don't ever come to fruition. That talent, that top 5 talent that everybody believed you had, it doesn't materialize. Big year for Sean Richardson.
Well, and one of two things to add on to your one of two things argument is either the GM missed so bad because this guy isn't coachable and he can't get better, or he can't learn even under Shane Steichen, and he needs to pay for this pick because it's a top 5 pick, or the coaching staff isn't doing enough and they can't give him what he needs to improve.
Right.
Shane Steichen's been very good with lots of different quarterbacks coached down there in Indy. I think it's the former, and I think the Colts know it. They're like, yeah, we drafted this guy, thought he was a project, but he's not even close.
Yeah.
And you can't spend 3 years losing with a project quarterback. That's not an option in the NFL today.
Yeah. And speaking of Shane Steichen, I mean, he's an offensive guy. It's not like he's an idiot. I mean, he's a guy that, has, now granted, being a head coach versus an offensive coordinator are two drastically different things, but he's an offensive guy. I got to think that all of your vested time is trying to get Sean Richardson right. And Richardson, for all intents and purposes, he's had like an attitude. He has shown up late for meetings. I mean, you look at the rumors coming out of Indianapolis, what kind of problems he's had. He has been a little bit of his own worst enemy when it comes to being a leader in that locker room. A lot of guys don't even respect him for his work ethic or lack thereof. And this is the other reason that teams have kind of soured a little bit on Shedeur Sanders. I mean, you hear about the interviews. Did you see one of the general managers came out of the interviews in Indianapolis and said, this guy doesn't even care. He thinks he's already arrived. He doesn't care about the franchise. He doesn't care about this interview. He doesn't care about anything we have to say. He doesn't care. And I know some players, some people that are in the league are like, look, it's you want cocky. He was described as extremely cocky. You want cocky. You want a guy to come in and believe in their ability. That's great. Because you can't come in scared. But you got to embrace that process and embrace where you could end up going. I mean, there's even teams that are saying like, look, if he falls, we would like to talk to him. And Shedeur Sanders people are like, no, we're not going to talk to you. Because if he falls, it doesn't matter where he ends up. And then they're talking about, well, if indeed you take him, eventually you're going to have to take dad. Like Deion Sanders is going to come riding in and also be part of this coaching anatomy that you have in this organization. I get it that he has the bravado of his father, but he doesn't have the cachet of his father. He hasn't paid a bill yet, where Deion did in the league for many years. And Deion did it both playing baseball and football. Don't forget. I mean, he was a phenom. So Shedeur Sanders, man, there's a lot of people that have kind of soured on him. I mean, I still think he's probably going to go. Do you think he falls out of the top 10?
Sanders?
Yeah.
No,
I still think he's going to get taken top 10.
I've been saying it on my show. I think he goes top 5.
Yeah.
Because that's how quarterbacks work. It only takes one team to really love him. Teams they're not patient if they think they can draft their franchise quarterback. They're just going to take him no matter where they are.
And the problem is that if he is not as good as what he's been built up to be, you're stuck with him for 4 years. You can cut him after 3. I get it if you choose to do so, mainly after 4. But your franchise is now tied to him for at least the next 3 years. Sink or swim, you're tied to that guy. So the worst possible place to be is making a draft choice at the top of the draft without having a good quarterback for the future of your football team, and then you tie your franchise, your reputation, your coach, everybody to that albatross. So, and all you're doing is hoping and praying to God that he's good.
Well, that's what the Colts are doing.
Yeah.
The thing that you're talking about right now. They're a couple years ahead. We took this guy in the top 5. This project, thought we could fix him. And we can't give up on him after 10 games. We got to keep playing him, whether or not we believe he's ever going to get better. I mean, it's a situation that gets coaches and general managers fired. You're absolutely right.
Your first year, tears the ACL, he's out. Second year, comes back, has a couple of games where you're like, wow, okay, this guy's got some talent, gets a little bit full of himself, doesn't come into meetings, or at least shows up late, not doing the film study, not doing all the things that makes you really, really good. And then begins to lose the locker room, takes a play off because he was tired. Players looked at him like, what are you doing? He wasn't hurt. He just wanted to sit down. And that's not leadership. They pull him after that. They basically bench him. He doesn't have a great end of the season. The team kind of spirals. He gets benched. Flacco's now your guy. They don't do much after that. And then there's talks about, everybody's on the hot seat, all because of this guy. And now you got to wait and see what this year brings. Again, 3 years tied to this guy. And if this year he comes out, say, after the first 6 or 7 games and does the same thing, plays the same way, he's inept, he can't make the decisions, he can't make the reads right away, he's got bad accuracy, throwing the ball away, and not much of a leader, there you go. There's your 3 years of a franchise down the tubes because you made a bad choice out of desperation. Which I guess this is also one of the reasons when you look at it and say, well, you know what? Goody made a tough choice. And he let a guy sit behind Rodgers for 3 years. He let a guy sit behind Favre for 3 years to learn it, to know what you had in this guy before you had to make big deals, so this guy could get mature and grow behind the scenes, and you're not desperate. The best time to take a quarterback is when you don't need one, and we tend to forget about that at times. Let's do this. We'll step out. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back. A lot more of the Bill Michaels Show is coming up. Don't go anywhere. We got a whole lot more of this DJ's Goalpost. I've been telling you about it. It is like a sports memorabilia place. It's just fantastic, whether it's shirts or hats or helmets or bobbleheads, whatever. They have got something for everybody in there. Go and sit down and enjoy the game. Get yourself a pizza. They got a great staff. Say hi to Don over there. Don's a great guy. They're doing a lot of March Madness stuff as well. The March Mayhem is here, so they got bracket tournaments and such out there. But a lot of good stuff at our friends at DJ's Goalpost, Appleton Avenue in Menominee Falls, and tell them we said hi.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Sometimes I get a good feeling.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Bill Michaels Show.
I get a good feeling.
As we continue on, good stuff. Good stuff today. This portion of the program brought to you by friends at Warner Electric. Warner, WER.com. They've got innovation for today and in the future, whether it's industrial, manufacturing, or residential, new builds, renovation, whatever it happens to be. If you need to add things and then you think about things down the road, what might be, they can help you out there. That's WarnerElectric.com. That's Warner, WERNER, WarnerElectric.com, or go to 866-4WARNER. That is 866-4WARNER, 866-4WARNER. Big supporter of our gala, big supporter of our ride, and big supporter of military members, veterans, first responders and their families as well. So thanks to them for being a part of the program for sure. 877-867-1670. Coming up in the next hour, Sam Monson is going to be joining us, and we'll talk with him a little bit more about the Packers and their place in all of this. We'll talk with him about the rest, obviously, of what's out there. So we'll talk with him about the possibility of what the Packers may or may not be bringing in and the holes that they still have to fill, and obviously what's up with the draft, but all of that coming up. So don't go anywhere. This is Stan. Stan says, I would give the Packers a D. By not signing anybody of name that's going to come in and immediately impact this team, I think that they have gotten worse, which means they get a D. If you're staying stagnant, you're getting worse. There is no C grades. It is a D. Appreciate the email. Michael says, Bill, in your opinion, does the Banks signing say that they don't have complete confidence in Jordan Morgan being a starting guard? If Ryan of Jenkins, one of those two guys, move into the center position, you'd think that the guy that they drafted in the first round last year would slide into that open position unless they feel that he'll compete against Walker at the left tackle position, which would seem odd because he didn't take any snaps in camp or season at tackle last year. It was all at guard. Am I missing something? No, I think you're on the money. I also think that because of his injury, they didn't see him last year. So you don't know. They like him, but you don't know. So you gotta hedge your bets there.
I think the signing, what's the guy's name again? Nate Banks? Aaron Banks? Banks, the guard. I think this is a fun signing to talk about on sports radio. And I said this last night because you can take it two ways. You can say they signed this guy because they don't think Jordan Morgan is good and he can't play guard. Or you can say they believe in Jordan Morgan so much, they brought in a guard, so now they can kick Jordan Morgan out to tackle and avoid paying Rasheed Walker, right? Like you could spin it both ways.
Yeah.
I have a hard time believing the Packers would just be giving up on Jordan Morgan after a year. So I kind of believe it's the latter.
I would believe it's somewhat the latter, but there is some trepidation about the length of his arms playing left tackle.
Yeah, 100%. He couldn't stay healthy and hack it at guard for a full season. So all of a sudden kicking him to left tackle out of nowhere, that's a bit rich for me too.
So I just believe that this is hedging your bets. And you would assume Banks is going to be your starter. But to me, remember, there was competition between him and Sean Ryan before he got hurt. And Sean Ryan ended up winning that job. But as a rookie going up against Sean Ryan, he played extremely well, at least from what you understand. So maybe he ends up displacing Sean Ryan. And maybe they still keep Rashad Walker. I don't know what they're going to do, but I know right now that they just have depth and let the best man win. And I believe Banks is going to be their starting, left guard. And I believe Elton Jenkins is going to be your starting center. I think that position with Sean Ryan could be up for grabs between Jordan Morgan and Sean Ryan. And I think Zach Tom's still going to be your right tackle and Walker's going to be your left tackle. And then they're going to have to fill in behind that. Because we saw what happened when Walker went down. That tackle position became a sieve. So they need to find another tackle, and they need to find a pure tackle. They can't go out and find themselves, a guy that, he can play guard and tackle. No. You need to find a tackle. Big road grader. Stay right there. We got another hour yet to go. Man, today is flying past. Hopefully you've enjoyed the day. Today is just motoring on by. Want to remind you, coming up, the third annual Bill Michaels Open, Saturday, May 10th, and we are more than halfway sold out. Call Ryan right now, 608-637-7615. Get in as a single or as a foursome. Viroqua Hills Golf Course, Saturday, May 10th, the third annual Bill Michaels Open, and spots are selling fast. We're more than halfway sold out, 608-637-7615. More of the Bill Michaels Show next.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, Wisconsin is headed to Indianapolis today. It's where they're going to open up play in the Big Ten tournament tomorrow. They don't know who their opponent will be just yet. They're going to find that out later today when Northwestern and Minnesota play. But they do know they'll get Max Klesmit back in the lineup, whoever it is. He's missed the last 3 games with a lower leg injury. Badgers have lost 2 of those, including to a woeful Penn State squad last Saturday. Coach Greg Gard knows how big getting Klesmit back is to his team's chances of making a deep run in this tournament and next week in the NCAA tournament.
That edge that you talked about, and he definitely brings that to our team, and that's an important piece. I mean, combined with the other people around him, right, and the personalities, and it's the right fit. It's maybe the vacancy that we missed when he was out, so to speak, because it's hard to duplicate that or replicate that.
Again, the Badgers will get the winner of Northwestern and Minnesota tomorrow afternoon. Tip should be right around 2:30 in Indy. Turn to the Bucks. They have lost 3 straight after a controversial 4-point play against Indiana last night cost them a chance to get to overtime. They're going to be back at home tomorrow to face the Lakers at Fiserv Forum.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
As the #1 farm insurer in Wisconsin, Rural Mutual Insurance is rewarding their farm policyholders for their loyalty and commitment to Wisconsin agriculture through their Farm Dividend Program. The Farm Dividend pays up to 5% back on your farm premium. Visit ruralmutual.com to learn how you could qualify.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
Well, the Packers can make the signings of guard Aaron Banks and quarterback Nate Hobbs official today as the new league year begins. Also reported yesterday that former first-round pick Eric Stokes agreed to a 1-year deal with the Raiders, and Wisconsin can open spring practice tomorrow in Madison. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heilprin.
Welcome in the Bill Michaels Show. Enjoying our day-to-day college basketball on here in the studio. You got number 9 Virginia right now, trailing number 8 Georgia Tech with just over 35 seconds to go, 62-57. Got a good one going on there in the ACC tournament in the second round. So we're into a little bit of this tournament frenzy right now, paying attention to college hoops. So I'm all about it. I'm good. Go with that. Iowa State, by the way, 51-44 with 11 minutes to go in the second half over Cincinnati. That's one we're kind of paying attention to. Iowa State, number 12 in the country right now. So you have that happening. I had mentioned the Virginia-Georgia Tech game coming up a little bit later this afternoon. You got North Carolina and Notre Dame getting ready to go at it. So that's going to be taking place. You've got the Big East tournament. You've got today Butler and Providence going to be facing off, Georgetown and DePaul, and then Seton Hall and Villanova. In the Big Ten, you're going to have some basketball today, too. You got Northwestern coming up a little bit later on this afternoon, taking on Minnesota, Iowa taking on Ohio State, and then the night game, USC and Rutgers. So that'll all get underway. We're excited about all of that and watching a whole lot of college hoops. So some fun stuff there. Talk a little NFL. As the NFL continues to spin, you've got the Seahawks. They are signing MVS, the former Chief, you kind of go through it. You former the Buffalo Bill, the former Green Bay Packer, the former Saint. So he is now off to the Seahawks. You got the Chiefs. They opened up $50 million of cap space. $50 million of cap space the Chiefs opened up by restructuring Chris Jones and Patrick Mahomes. 49.446 to be exact. But close to $50 million in cap space. They were needed to clear cap space to cover the Chiefs' activity in the recent weeks in free agency. They put the franchise tag on Trey Smith. They re-signed the linebacker Nick Bolton. Wide receiver Hollywood Brown's coming back. They also added the offensive tackle Jalen Moore and the cornerback Christian Fulton. So this is the fourth time Mahomes has had to rework his contract since or before the 2021 season, if I'm not mistaken, when I read that right. He signed a revised contract back in 2023 to move some money around. That's the thing, man. Those contracts, it's great to lock up your quarterback and you feel really secure. And God knows Patrick Mahomes has certainly earned his money. But, man, when you get that kind of money, then it becomes a jockeying system where you're just moving money around to try to figure out a way to be able to save yourself money, to put enough guys around you to have the team that's viable. It's that simple. So I'm just, man, on one hand, you get your guy, you lock him up. On the other hand, it really, really stymies your organization for the ability to, especially when you got two or three guys. Look at what Cincinnati's going through. Now, Cincinnati is notoriously cheap, but they got Joe Burrow under contract, $55 million a year plus. He's willing to take a pay cut, and it's still a very friendly team deal for them. But he's willing to take a pay cut because he wants to keep Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. In the meantime, Trey Hendrickson, 35 sacks in the last 2 years, and they've got him shopping himself because they don't want to pay him the money, or they can't. You know, it's just once you really start to put a team together and you find out as the cream rises to the top, the good pieces that you have, the ability to retain a lot of those pieces becomes very, very tough to do. Now, it's great for the NFL because you have moving pieces in the NFL. You have storylines in the NFL. You have a lot of interest in the NFL. It's the ability for the bad teams to get good and the good teams to go back down to some humble pie, so to speak. But man, you can't keep everybody. And if you draft really, really well, you try to pay them early. You know, you try to do that. You pay them early, you get them under contract, you get them the extra money, and then you just watch those statistics continue to climb. And if they get really, really good, by the time they're that good, you can either make a decision to keep them or let them go and move on, or start grooming somebody for their position. But man, it's just, woof, crazy.
I'm glad that you mentioned. That's why the NFL is great, though, because how often in baseball are we like, how do they have all of these guys? Right. You know what I mean? There's no governance system in the NBA to a lesser degree, too. Yep. Breaking news, Tom Pelissero reporting the Rams have released Cooper Kupp today.
So he's okay. We thought he would be a cut down day guy, and certainly he has been. Now Cooper Kupp is on the open market. This was a guy that we had talked about where he's a good third down guy. He's going to be in the right place at the right time. And that is Cooper Kupp. But what does he have left in the tank?
Would old Randall Cobb be a good comp for Cooper Kupp and the role that he would play on a contender now?
Yes.
Wily vet, big moment, get smart in the right zone and almost like a tight end.
Yes. I think Cooper Kupp is maybe better than Randall Cobb towards the end, but that's a very good comp to that. He's a guy that, hey, look, he's going to find the open seam in the zone and he's going to sit and wait for the ball to be delivered. He's a guy that's going to be right place, right time. He's not a burner. He's not a big leaper. He's not that guy, but he's going to be stable. He's a stabilizing guy, but he's also had some injuries. But Cooper Kupp now in the open market. So now you can get Cooper Kupp for a lot less money because of what's transpired in the towards the end of his career, so to speak. But yeah, he is it's a very good comp for sure.
But he's not helpful to you, just like Randall Cobb at the end wasn't that helpful to the Packers. If you don't have other guys to do all the work on first and second down and the yards after the catch and all the other things, which
Randall Cobb, even in his last year with the Jets, he was still able to score. He was still able to kind of help them a little bit and be in the right place. He just didn't have a great quarterback delivering the football. So he was still able to be viable, but he was no longer Randall Cobb. But yeah, I get it. That's kind of a good comp. And if you got a better quarterback throwing him the football, then maybe he would have had an even better season.
Well, and he's uniquely kind of paired with Rodgers too.
Right.
So he's one of those guys. It's like, well, on another team, he might not be that valuable. With Rodgers, there's that history. And, I do wonder if Cooper Kupp could make some sense for the Packers, because they got the first and second down guys. Right. You have the younger guys to carry most of the weight. I just don't envision the Packers being that into this.
If they grabbed Cooper Kupp, would that be enough appeasement for Packers fans?
Well, maybe for now. I think Packers fans would be like, that's nice. You still got to draft someone.
You still got absolutely.
That's not changing that reality.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think that would be a decent appeasement. I think that would be a decent appeasement for some, but it's still not that number one downfield guy.
He's a name that people know, which, how many comments have you got in the last 3 days? Like, they signed these no-name guy. Okay, well, whether or not you knew their names, that's secondary. They're solid players. Look at their career. Cooper Kupp is a name, but probably not as productive or trustworthy at this point.
So, would you rather have, well, let's see here. There's what's out on the open market. There's not much left in terms of free agency, right? When it comes to being, who's available. Who's out on the open market?
Not a ton.
There's not enough. There's not a lot out there. That's available.
Peter Schrager just tweeted, I know of 3 teams that are interested in Cooper Kupp. The question is what it will cost to sign him and what he and his reps are looking for money-wise. He certainly will be motivated and has good football left in the tank.
Right. One of the big pieces of news, Marcus Mariota returning to the Commanders. Yay. So, but yeah, it's I don't know. There's not much out there. There's not much out there when it comes to, Godwin obviously goes back and signs a deal with the Buccaneers. God, when it comes to the wide receiver, there just isn't. There just isn't. I mean, the only other guy that's out there of name is Stephon Diggs. He's coming back off the ACL. He's probably not even going to be ready for camp. But here's the thing about Stephon Diggs. He played 8 games, and which is the reason he's low on the list. He played, his speed was starting to slip. He's still a good route runner. But he had 47 receptions, 496 yards last year, 70 touchdowns over his 10-year career. He's still a guy that can go up and get it, but would you want Stephon Diggs coming off of an ACL? I don't think so.
No.
There's Amari Cooper, but he was slipping last year.
Seems like he's over the hill.
Yeah, he's past it. And thing about it is, he's 31 too.
Well, yeah, he was actually, I think, much better than most gave him credit for with the Browns. He was really productive for them, even with lesser quarterbacks, but he got to the Bills last year with all the opportunity to kind of be the lead dog in big moments, and he just didn't do a whole lot.
Right. So then you've got, after that, listed on the depth chart is Cooper Kupp, who just became available. Keenan Allen, who's older, he's 33. He would be like the next best wide receiver that's on the open market. That's it. Now there's what was it? Who's the guy out of? Was it the Browns late season surge? Was Brown? Is Brown the wide receiver still available out there? Did he sign? Did I see he signed with Jacksonville? I think he signed with Jacksonville.
Dynemi Brown or Diami Brown, that guy? I'm not sure who you're talking about.
Diami Brown, yeah. I think he signed with Jacksonville. Thank you for giving me his first name.
Well, I don't think I said it correctly.
No, but
he's with the Commanders still, so maybe we're thinking of the wrong
Commanders.
ground.
Okay. Trying to think. I don't think there's anybody else out there.
There's not much.
Yeah, I don't think there's anybody else out there.
No, yeah, the ESPN's lying to me, or the website's lying to me. You're right. He's on the Jags now. Not
is he
Commanders.
on the Jags? Okay.
Not that it matters. He's not available, which is the point.
Right.
No one cares where Naimi Brown is playing.
Yeah. Beyond that, I don't know. I don't know of any other wide receiver that's out there. There's nobody, unless you make a deal, there's nobody else out there that the Packers are going to be able to go after. So you kind of take that off the table as far as finding a true number one. All the true number ones are gone. And there weren't that many to begin with, but they're all gone. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. Tom says, any suitors left to trade for Malik? I'm not getting rid of Malik. Why are people, what is the fascination about trading the backup quarterback? If God forbid Jordan Love goes down, you had a guy that was winning you ball games. Why do you want to get rid of him? For what? You're not going to get a number one wide receiver for him. I don't think there's any teams out there that is looking for him to be a starter right now.
Come on, Bill. He's worth a first-round pick at least. Come on.
Right? I'm like, what is the fascination with trading Malik Willis?
Backup quarterbacks are a funny thing on Sports Talk Radio, because if you don't have one, it's the only thing we talk about is getting a veteran backup, and then the second you get him, you want to flip him for something else.
You want him out of the house so you can get something better that's going to be a starter. But then if you trade him away and God forbid Jordan Love go down, which he did last year on a couple of different occasions, you need a Malik Willis. What is the fascination with trading him away? That's just me, but I wouldn't be doing it. You finally got your kicker, your backup quarterback, all that stuff. That's solidified. Why do you want to weaken yourself that way? For what? A pick? Because you're not going to get much. You're not going to trade him for a number one wide receiver. You know what's really interesting is nobody has talked about Tyreek Hill. And he was the guy that said, I'm out. He's out of Miami. After they ended up getting beat in the postseason, he said, I'm out. Not a word's been said from him or about anything regarding that after the fact. And we even saw Mike McDaniel down in Indianapolis, down at the Combine. Nothing. Silence, like radio silence. There's nothing going on right now. So you figure, well, Tyreek Hill, I mean, when you start comparing some of the better wide receivers in the National Football League right now, Tyreek Hill's name comes up. But even his numbers have declined. Now, whether that's because of Tua or design or whatever, but no, there is nothing out of Tyreek Hill, man. And this was a guy that said, I'm out. I got to think about me. I'm out. Basically wanted to pass on his team. I don't even know if I'd want him anyway, to be honest. More of the Bill Michaels Show coming up next.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket, this is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
You can accomplish quite a lot in 6 years. You go from changing diapers to dropping your child off at school. College, you can get a bachelor's and a master's degree. And you can take up to 6 years to pay off your brand new Pella windows and doors at 0% interest. Hi, it's Gina Della from Pella. With Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin, you get so much more than stunning windows and doors. You get the Pella experience. Talk about quality control. Pella manufactures, sells, installs, and services every product. A 10-year labor warranty is always included, so your windows and doors are secure for years to come. Our expert installers are available year-round and can install in as little as a day. If something ever goes wrong, Pella will handle it ASAP because you work with the same team from start to finish. Oh my gosh, why wait? Get the Pella experience in this incredible deal. 0% interest for up to 6 years on brand new Pella windows and doors. Set your free in-home consultation today at PellaWI.com.
Certain restrictions apply. Ends 3/8/25.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
How we looking? Bill Michaels Show. Excited for today in so many different ways. I truly am. I had mentioned it earlier. I've still not made the decision, but I might do some grilling today. I know I'm grilling over the weekend. But I might do some grilling today. And the more I'm looking outside, it's sunny. It's a little bit cool, but it's sunny. I think I can fire the grill up, and I think I might do some Roberts Specialty Meats tonight. Got a lot of college hoops going on, conference championships going on. So I'm excited. I think that's what I'm going to do. As much as I want to go out and just make it easy on myself and give myself a sub sandwich, I think an Al Capone personal roast is in my future. So I might do that tonight. Roberts Specialty Meats, Waukesha. We are less than, 3 weeks away now? Less than 3 weeks away for the home opener. If by chance you're going to be tailgating out at American Family Field for the opener, you want to go to Roberts because they have the sausages that are handmade and all different types. You want jalapeno beer brats? They have it. You want hot and spicy Italians? They have it. You want things that are just, regular beer brat? They have it. You want pre-made burgers, say mushroom and Swiss, bacon cheddar, whatever it happens, pre-made? They have it. You want to get the ribs on a stick? Just heat them up, gobble them up. Good to go. They have those. Garlic parm chicken skewers? They have them. Or steaks, fillets wrapped with bacon, or the Al Capone roast. There's so much good stuff. And local, made fresh deli stuff. Potato salads, pasta salads, all that kind of good stuff, and local cheeses, cheese spreads that are all sold right here in our own backyard. He is your hometown butcher. Go to Roberts Specialty Meats, Waukesha.com. That is Roberts Specialty Meats, Waukesha.com. Good stuff. So here's a bit of news, and I did not know this. I know this house, though, now that I look at it. Zach Bond, he's right up the road from me. I didn't realize, even though he just got signed to some buku bucks and he's in Philadelphia, he is apparently keeping his home here up the street from me. Now, his home is valued a little bit more than my home is. His valued at $1.15 million. But I know where this house is. Not that I've stalked him, but I know this house. I think the builder that built his house built my house, as a matter of fact. There's a lot of things that are very similar in the home. But even with the Super Bowl win, apparently he is keeping his home in Brookfield, Wisconsin. And it's maybe a mile from me. But Zach Bond staying in Brookfield, keeping the home here. Good to see. Good to see. I just thought I'd throw it out there. Good to see that he's sticking around and keeping a residence here in Wisconsin. Just like J.J. Watt. J.J. Watt does the same thing. I know he works out down the street from me.
I was going to say, I got a text a couple weeks ago of a buddy who was working out at a local gym. I'm like, J.J. Watt's here. Like,
yeah.
oh.
Yeah. Yep. J.J. Watt stays here. Still sticks around Pewaukee, Wisconsin.
Good to have him in the neighborhood.
Yep, for sure. Let's go to the phone calls. Let's talk to Drew listening to us in La Crosse. Drew, how you doing today, man? What's going on?
I'm well. How are you?
Good, man. What you thinking?
Oh, not much. It's an honor to talk to you.
Oh, thank you very much. You too.
I was thinking a good comp for Cooper Kupp might be more of a Donald Driver. And I think depending on what you can get him for, just even for the leadership aspect alone, like maybe bring him in situationally, even to distract from others. I think he could be a really, really big locker room asset. And I think the Packers really need that. So
I wouldn't doubt that. That's not a bad comp. I mean, both guys that we compared him to, Randall Cobb as well, both guys were really good locker room guys. Appreciate the phone call. You're right. Both guys very big in the locker room. Donald Driver, both of those guys, all the way up until the end, they were still catching passes. It wasn't like you had to shove them out the door. They were both still catching passes and both wanting to be here, both wanting to be a part of the locker room until they just said, hey, it's time. So neither guy limped away from football. Both guys played pretty well all the way up until the end and then knew when it was time to call it quits. But that's not a bad comp. I don't know if he has the same physical capabilities as Donald. Donald was there was two different guys. One was in Randall Cobb. He was a guy that he was a good route runner. He's got good hands. He's reliable. He played inside and out, but he probably better out of the slot. But he would be there. And when the play broke down, he was the guy that you could look to that would always find the seam. He could run to the seam. He was that kind of reliable. Donald was the guy that said, look, everybody else is out and about. Everybody's outside the numbers. They're on the red line, whatever it happens to be. They can do that. I'll make my living going over the middle. Give me the ball in the first 3 yards and I'll make something happen. Give me the ball on the 7-yard line or 7 yards downfield and I can make something happen. Now, Donald took his shots. And I don't even know if you can get away with some of the shots that Donald took over a period of time because Donald took some hits. And it always amazed me that he'd get up. He'd do the shimmy shake, point first down, drop the ball, back to the huddle. I don't know if Cooper Kupp's that guy. Because Donald was I called him Gumby because you could just hit him and he would just fold up like a piece of paper and then bounce right back up like it was no big deal. But Cooper Kupp, they always, when you listen to players that played with him, when you listen to like Whitworth and those guys, they have nothing but praise for Cooper Kupp for his work ethic, the way he went about his business, the guys in the locker room. Yeah. Yeah. I could probably go in that direction and understand the comp there. No doubt. 877-867-1670. Got to get to a lot of the people that are over on the text line because you guys have been great. Bill in Wanakee says, if nobody has signed Aaron Rodgers yet, does that necessarily mean that nobody wants to touch him, Steelers or otherwise? No. The rumor is, Bill, that he is taking his time to make his decision. So I think it's more of he wants to see what's going to fit him and what he wants to do. I can't imagine it's whether or not he wants to play. I got to think it's about what's his best situation. Bobby Menominee, Halliburton didn't have a good game and still played better than Dame. Dame didn't have a great game last night, but my argument is who cares about the game? Halliburton, in one of the biggest moments, got the ball, didn't have a great game, and still was able to chuck it up and hit a 3 and a free throw. I don't care if Dame was 1 for 7 beyond the arc as well. Dame's the guy you brought in to take the last second shot, and you got the ball to a guy that doesn't handle the ball real well and doesn't shoot worth a crap beyond the arc, and you let Giannis fire it up because he's Giannis. Dumb. And you didn't design anything to open him up. They were just running around. It was poor. It was a poor end of that game last night. And that is the reason they're not going to win a championship. That's the reason they may not even get out of the first round of the postseason, to be perfectly honest with you. Ryan Manitowoc, I am going crazy. I keep feeling that the Packers are going to do nothing, but still have little hope that they have something up their sleeve. As far as Rodgers goes, I'm sick of him doing the I'll think about it move, etc. Massive ego, prima donna. Can he go sit in a cave for all I care? That's from Ryan. But Ryan, here's the best part. Not our circus anymore. We just watch it from the sideline going, man, been there, done that. We don't have to worry about that anymore. We don't have that in our backyard, which is kind of nice. It's kind of nice. Steve in Green Bay is somebody in the Green Bay area I feel I can speak for Fan Nation, which is where you're being broadcasted. We would love to have you come up here and host an event. People will come out to it. Steve in Green Bay. Steve, we got to do something. We got to do something up in Green Bay. We do. We got to do something. I don't know what it is, but we got to work with our guys at WDUZ and do something up there. Brad in Sturgeon Bay said, hey, Bill, bring the RV up, set up and do the show from inside the RV in Door County this summer. Maybe take a little bit of a tour. We just show up. We do the show. If we got to internet, we just we put the awning out and we sit under it and do a show right there in front of wherever we pull into. That'd be kind of cool. Kind of like just a kind of a road show type of thing. Or we take a week and maybe we do a pop-up, Grant. Maybe we do a pop-up. We don't advertise where we're going to be, but we show up. We just roll into town that night, and that next day we pop up somewhere. I mean, you and I will know where we're going to be, but we pop up somewhere and we just say, here we are. And we do the show there. That'd be kind of cool.
I like that idea.
You know? And then everywhere we go, we give something away. We find something, whether it's our buddy Chris over at ABC Audio Video giving away big screen TVs or something, or we give away hotel stays or whatever. We give something away. I like that idea. I do that. 3 or 4 days on the road. One day we're in Platteville. The next day we're up in Door County. The next day we're over at Menominee Marinette or up in Crivets or something. Then we're at JJQ over in Tomahawk. I do that. That'd be a fun trip.
I like this plan a lot.
The RV would stink after about 4 days, but that's okay.
That's okay.
We need to take Ebo with us too. That'd be really cool. Now we'd have to have poor Kate. She would have to run the show for 6 hours, 8 hours, but we could do that. That'd be kind of cool. Take everybody on the road, just pop up. Here we are. That's great. By the way, Iowa State has defeated Cincinnati by 20, 76-56 to advance in the Big 12. And Iowa State, number 5 seed. Or number 5, 5 seed as of right now. That's a 3 seed. 3 seed is what it's being projected. They could end up taking Wisconsin space at in Milwaukee if Wisconsin doesn't do a little bit of a showing here in the Big Ten tournament. But I like that idea. Just drive around and set up. Rick from Spencer said, hey, Bill, I was told by a Packer employee that if a player has a certain agent, the Packers won't even go after them. The Scott Boras type of agent. But here's the problem with that. There's only about 30 agents that are really big, that have big multitudes of people. You're probably talking about Drew Rosenhaus because he's a pain in the ass. But they have Drew Rosenhaus clients that they've had to deal with before. Now, granted, when Aaron Jones brought in Drew Rosenhaus, that was pretty much it for Aaron Jones, but they have dealt with Drew Rosenhaus before. So, but that's the problem is there's like 30 agents for a lot of these guys, and they have their wagons hit. You can't take an agent and go, I'm not going to sign any of your guys. I'm not going to work with you. There may be people you try to avoid if at all possible, but I don't think you would, slight your own team because you don't want to work with a particular guy. So, real quick, Rock and Rick says Cooper Kupp would be great example to that room for an example of how to carry yourself. And then out of the 715, Alex in Tigerton says, my dad said for years that the Packers should sign Donald Driver as a strength and conditioning coach for our wide receivers. They got pretty good strength and conditioning coach right now in there. Although Donald was always great. Donald took care of himself, still does. But I like Donald Driver. Always have. Let's do this. We'll talk more NFL when we come back. Sam Monson is going to join us. We're going to pick his brain on all this stuff. Don't forget, coming up, we're only a few days away from the ticket sales shutting down. If you have not gotten your tickets yet, for the Big Unit Gala coming up on Saturday night, March 22nd. I went out yesterday, got my tux. But if you got a suit and your significant other has something to wear, rather elegant, don't worry about a tux. That's okay. It's black tie optional. But please join us. We only have a couple of days left to sell the remainder of these 10 tickets. That's it. Once they're gone, they're gone. And then we're done. But we're going to shut the sales down anyway because we got to place the food order for everybody's dinner. And we got to do that. I believe it's on Saturday. So everything shuts down in the next couple of days. Go to bigunitfoundation.com. That's bigunitfoundation.com. And please come and join us. We're going to have a great night. We're going to raise a lot of money. We're going to do some great things for veterans, military members, their families, and first responders. But we can't do it without you. Please come and join us. I've been begging you for a while. If you've been thinking about it, please pull the trigger on this. Go to Big Unit. Let me type it in. bigunitfoundation.com. It's that simple. And then right there at the top of the page, you can find the link. It's just scrolling across. Just click on it, and it's going to take you to the Eventbrite page, and you're going to be able to find all the information. Again, bigunitfoundation.com. That is bigunitfoundation.com.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Good stuff. Appreciate you. Bill Michaels Show. On this Wednesday edition, thanks so much for hanging out with us. Hey, I did want to let you know that coming up with a nice ash this weekend, Friday night, Zeno and Joe are going to be down there. I just saw that. So I might head down that direction. Catch a good cigar, some good live music. Zeno and Joe on Friday night, 9 to midnight. Down at Nice Ash in downtown Waukesha. So there you go. Good stuff. Joining us now on the hotline to talk a little more NFL and to break down all the mayhem that has been going on when it comes to the free agency market. Sam Monson, the 33rd Team and Check the Mic podcast. All these guys at Super Bowl and down there at the Combine. Sam, how you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
We're doing great. So let's start off with, like, who do you think right now has pretty much, I guess, compelled themselves to be a legitimate contender when it comes to some of the free agent moves that have been made so far this offseason?
Yeah, it's tough. Like, we're in this strange world where I think teams have gotten better generally at managing their rosters, at, understanding how to keep your own players and not letting elite players hit the free agent market. And so free agency, I think, has changed from what it used to be, where you could go out shopping and bring in elite talents, top players, complete difference makers. Now I think it's much more about just sort of supplementing what you already have and bringing in guys who can definitely make an impact and make a difference, but are not completely transforming the fortunes of the franchises out there. Obviously, sort of independent of the quarterback discussion, and there have been a few of those guys moving, Geno Smith, Sam Darnold, et cetera. But just in terms of the shopping list of free agents, I don't think any team has really gone from, nowhere to immediate contender based off the spending that they've done. I think, several teams have made themselves better, but I don't think free agency anymore is a place for that kind of giant leap forward.
The Bears have basically remade their entire offensive line, which was a big need going into this offseason. I like what Ryan Poles did to that team a couple of years ago. They're obviously a threat to the Packers in the NFC North. We know that DJ Reed and bolstering the secondary up there in Detroit has been a good move for them. They still have a lot of guys coming back from that injury-plagued season last year. And it's seemingly short of, losing their starting quarterback and Sam Darnold. They're ready to go with J.J. McCarthy in Minnesota, and they've gotten better as well. So talk about the NFC North and what you've seen.
Yeah, I think all three teams in the NFC North outside of the Packers got better. I think that division is going to be tough again. As you said, assuming J.J. McCarthy is good, and that's not a massive downgrade at quarterback from what Sam Darnold was doing a year ago, I think the Vikings will be good. Chicago's offensive line overhaul is huge. I mean, one thing that was consistent with Ben Johnson's offense in Detroit the last few years, the Lions had one of the best offensive lines in the NFL that year. And obviously, Ben Johnson has no interest in finding out whether or not that still holds if he has a bad offensive line at the foundation of this whole thing. So they went out and made a real statement of intent with overhauling that group. And who knows, they might not be done yet with the draft upcoming. So they're getting a much better offensive line in front of Caleb Williams, and then letting Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams go to work and seeing what they can do with that baseline. And then the Lions, I really like the addition of DJ Reed. I think on paper, that quarterback group was a little concerning, was a little reliant on unproven young players that they drafted a year ago. But now you get to bring in a guy like Reed, who, he outperformed Sauce Gardner with the Jets last year. He was a really good corner. So that should be one spot you immediately don't have to worry about. You can work out the best corner for the other side, basically allow, whichever guy emerges to win that job. And it's just solidifying a spot that could have been an issue for them. So, yeah, I think all the NFC North teams are doing some good things.
The Packers, you had talked about the Packers, like everybody else has gotten a little bit better. The Packers, chances are they're going to, cut Jair. They bring in Nate Hobbs. They brought in Banks to bolster the offensive line. Josh Myers is going to be on his way out. They're going to move some guys around. Talk about what the Packers have or have not done, because I kept thinking they need a corner. They're going to need an edge rusher, somebody to be a game wrecker, and they need a number one wide receiver, and they kind of addressed the corner issue.
Yeah, I think Nate Hobbs is a really good player, particularly when he's in the slot. I think he's a really high-end guy, but he's shown the ability to play inside and outside. I think he's at his best playing zone coverage schemes. But yeah, I really like that as an addition for them. I think that's a good move and a guy with some versatility to bring to the table. Aaron Banks is someone that makes some sense. I think they did need to work a little bit on that offensive line, just keep turning over that group and make sure that they've got 5 that they're comfortable with. The contract looked a little bit jarring at first sort of glance, but that was the headline figure, the agent figure, the top dollar number. And I think actually the structure of that deal is probably going to look a lot more team friendly. And so at that point, it's kind of worth the risk or the gamble or what looked like an overpay to begin with. So yeah, I think they've made the moves that they have made, I think have been good. Obviously they haven't done anything yet in terms of a number one wide receiver. And it's debatable whether that's necessary. I mean, I know having a number one receiver is never a bad thing. It's not that anybody, oh man, I wish we didn't have Jamar Chase on this roster. It would be a much better deal. But I think you can kind of create a number one receiver in the aggregate, as long as you have all the number one receiver skill sets and areas of attack complete within your receiving core. I think you can be fine without one. It's not all focused on one guy.
We all know that if you're not getting better, you're getting worse in the NFL. The Packers getting one division win last year. They did find their way into the postseason. They battled some of these teams like Detroit, like Minnesota, like Philadelphia, of which they all played twice. They battled them, but they couldn't get past that hump. What do you think this team needs to do to get over that hump, to go back to that elite status?
Yeah, and that's where I think the selling point of a number one receiver, that's where I think you do have an argument, is that, look, this team was good last year, but it felt like the season was defined by running into elite teams and not being able to get over that hump. And every time they found a team that was in the genuine elite category in the NFC, they ended up coming out second best in those encounters. So I think that's where you look at this and say, well, if we're looking at this roster and overall, it's in really good shape. Top to bottom, there are not many holes in this roster. And, the starting unit, there's not many places that you're looking at and saying this is a glaring weakness. So then you start looking, well, where could we upgrade to elite, from good to elite, or from, passable to really good? And that's where I think you can make the argument that, what if we did add a true number one wide receiver to this group? But I think you can kind of make that argument, almost across the roster. They're now looking to go from good to great. And so you look at areas and say, well, Rashawn Gary's really good, but the young guys that they've drafted to be a complement to him haven't worked out yet, whether it's Lucas Van Ness, whether it's Kingsley Enagbare. If they found, an elite pass rusher in the first round of this draft or something, that I think would propel this team forward. So I think things like that, just trying to find clear upgrades now instead of filling holes.
I look at the teams in the AFC side of things. I saw that Kansas City cleared about $50 million in cap space. They want to continue to make a little bit of a run. I think the Rams have gotten better. The 49ers had a bloodletting, but I still think they're a viable team, depending on what they're going to end up paying Brock Purdy by the time it's all said and done. There's some teams out there that you looked at them and you went, okay, they made a lot of moves. They're not going through rebuilds. They're clearing cap space, but they didn't get worse. And those are two of the teams that in Kansas City and San Francisco that I look at, that they're still viable competitors. They've still got good quarterbacks. They've still got wide receivers. They've still got good offensive lines. Those teams, while they're trying to cut some salary, they're also still staying very viable. They're not doing the tear it down rebuild thing and starting over from point zero.
Yeah, and I think that's becoming, more and more rare these days. Again, it's part of teams are better now at managing the salary cap, managing their rosters, not putting themselves in that salary cap hell that used to exist. I think teams have gotten much, much better at avoiding these sort of horrific tear down rebuilds where you've got to strip the whole thing back, shed a whole bunch of terrible contracts and, get out the other side, but it's going to take a couple of years of pain. Generally speaking, we are seeing kind of maintenance for these teams year on year. And even when you have a big contract that you need to give out, they've planned these things in advance. And so they're kind of coinciding these shedding of big contracts with the signing of the next big contract. So Brock Purdy's deal is obviously imminent, and that's going to change their entire salary cap landscape. But that's why Deebo Samuel is already out the door. They've sort of strategized and planned this so that they can shed that contract at the time where they're about to massively increase spending on a different position at quarterback. So I think generally you're seeing this trend now for a few years that the NFL as a totality is just getting a lot better at managing their roster and not putting themselves in awful positions.
We know the Jets had a bloodletting as well. They had to let go of Aaron Rodgers. They wanted to move on. They brought in a guy that wants to build the culture. I gave what they've done so far this offseason a high grade only because they said, okay, we need to reset and we need to do things right. And Woody Johnson has kind of stayed out of the way. Even though I don't think they're a contender by any stretch of the imagination, I still think the Jets have actually had a pretty decent offseason thus far.
Yeah, I think you have to give them some credit for realizing that the Rodgers thing was just not working out and they had to start over. They had to go in a different direction and basically saying, look, even though he wants to come back, we're not really interested. We're going to move on. And then I think once you're in that position and you're out there looking, so many of the options that were available this offseason were kind of off the table just because they'd already been with the Jets. I mean, there's no way Sam Darnold is going back to the Jets based off the first part of his career. I would imagine the same thing is true with Geno Smith based off how his tenure with the Jets went. So these kind of viable starting quarterback options weren't really options for the Jets. And so they're picking from a much smaller option pool. And I think given that group, particularly where they pick in the draft, you can't guarantee that they're going to get a starter there. I think Justin Fields is the right roll of the dice to take. His athleticism is spectacular. He's one of the top 5 most dynamic and athletic quarterbacks in the NFL. It's, Lamar Jackson, Jaden Daniels, Josh Allen, but Fields is in that group as well. And that will buy you some viability as an offense while you figure out what you can get out of him as a passer. And that's definitely the weaker part of his game. It's the part that's still a work in progress, but it is a work in progress. He has gotten incrementally better at that every year of his career, is moving in the right direction. And I think there's still potential for him to be a better player going forward because he's still, pretty young. So is it likely that Justin Fields takes a huge step forward and becomes a really high level quarterback for them? No, but that's why he's only on $20 million a year instead of 40, 50, 60 million a year. But I think it is the right gamble to take given where they are.
Hey, real quick, Sam Darnold out in Seattle and that move with Geno Smith going over to the Raiders. Sam Darnold, is he a product of what Kevin O'Connell put together, or did he just revitalize himself and remake himself in Minnesota, and he's going to take those same skill sets out to Seattle?
Well, I think obviously Kevin O'Connell had a huge impact on Sam Darnold, and we're now starting to stack up pieces of evidence that say Kevin O'Connell is really good at that. What he did with Kirk Cousins, what he's done with Sam Darnold. Kevin O'Connell might be one of those guys that can move the needle in terms of how a quarterback ends up playing. But what we don't know is, number one, how permanent is that? If you take the guy away from Kevin O'Connell, does it immediately fall apart? Or are those the kind of improvements and lessons that can stay with the quarterback and result in a permanent change? But also, given how spectacularly badly it ended, we don't even know what Darnold will be going forward. Even if he stayed with Minnesota, is that the kind of collapse that has a permanent lasting damage? I can't think of another quarterback that had a season like that where for, 14, 15 games, he was really good, not just sort of above average, not just playing above expectations, but almost all pro caliber. And then the final 2 games of the season, which were the most important games of the season, it was like someone had pushed the reset button on him and he went all the way back to the seeing ghost Sam Darnold. It was like he was looking at, Belichick defenses for the first time. And it was a complete and total catastrophe. I have no idea how you evaluate that coming out of the season. And I don't think the Vikings did either. I think that was part of why they were willing to let him go, because they were just confused by that. I mean, you say 2 weeks before that, what would they have thought? They would have brought him back. I mean, if it hadn't ended the way it ended, I think they would have signed him to a long-term deal. And it was such a spectacular implosion that they were scared off by it.
Yep, and I don't blame him. Sam, it's always great to pick your brain, man. I certainly appreciate you coming on, and we'll talk again real soon, okay?
Anytime. Take it easy.
There you go, Sam Monson. The Check the Mic podcast, the 33rd team as well. You can find his stuff there, and it's always great to get him on the program. Let's do this. We're going to step out. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back when we do kind of wrap it up. I know we went a little bit long there, but we'll wrap it up real quick. More of the Bill Michaels Show coming up next.
Ready? This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
You can accomplish quite a lot in 6 years. You go from changing diapers to dropping your child off at school. College, you can get a bachelor's and a master's degree, and you can take up to 6 years to pay off your brand new Pella windows and doors at 0% interest. Hi, it's Gina Della from Pella. With Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin, you get so much more than stunning windows and doors. You get the Pella experience. Talk about quality control. Pella manufactures, sells, installs, and services every product. A 10-year labor warranty is always included, so your windows and doors are secure for years to come. Our expert installers are available year-round and can install in as little as a day. If something ever goes wrong, Pella will handle it ASAP because you work with the same team from start to finish. Oh my gosh, why wait? Get the Pella experience in this incredible deal. 0% interest for up to 6 years on brand new Pella windows and doors. Set your free in-home consultation today at PellaWI.com.
Certain restrictions apply. Ends 3/8/25.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
That's going to do it. It's about time for us to get out of here as we are back only to say goodbye. Today was a fast one. We'll be back at it again tomorrow, and looking forward to it. We've got both Marquette and Wisconsin playing tomorrow as well. But we will talk a lot more about a lot of different things. You got other free agent market moves that's going to be done in the NFL. A lot coming up on tomorrow's program. Until we talk again 20 hours from now, time for